across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Monday again. Thank you very much indeed to Ian Collins. We're back with Drive on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense, and we are raring to go. I'm going to control myself today. I really am going to control myself and not try and talk too much about that idiot. I nearly said the wrong word already. Gary Neville, welcome to Talk Drive. So as ever, A-Team are not here. Jodie's absent without leave. No, she's doing something else. We have the wonderful Sholape. She's taking your phone calls. Sholape, see? If you ring up, say hello, Sholape. Nice to meet you. 0344 499 1000. Ryan is in. Look, he's on holiday. It's a shock to the system. You can send him a voice note message, 0344 499 1000. And as ever, you can get us on the text, 87222. The other big news is Big Baldy Dave is pushing the buttons for one final day before he returns to rehab. But that's another story. 0344 499 1000. So cut the music. Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a world whereby I think that talk has become one of the leading vehicles for common sense. We've been talking about it for years, long before I came here. We talk every day about things that seem to make perfect sense to us, but to the rest of the lefty world, or those on the left, they think that we're a nightmare. Gary Neville, let me give you Gary Neville, a man who eked out an incredibly successful football career at Manchester United, played 85 times for England, and has built a portfolio of properties in Manchester, has got into media, was a crap football manager, didn't last long at Valencia, but has made a fortune, cynically on the back of his mate David Beckham, but he's made a fortune, 70 million quid he's worth. Gary Neville, a.k.a. Gary Lineker Mark II, thought it would be a really good idea over the weekend on his Insta thing or whatever, I don't know, Twitter, twat or whatever, What, LinkedIn, is it? Yeah, I don't know what that is. Anyway, this is what the idiot Gary Neville said. Pin back your lug-holes and don't get too angry. Go.
Driving home from Salford City last night, I was driving out to Salford City, going down a Littleton Road, seeing 60, probably 50 or 60 Union Jack flags, and I just kept thinking as I was driving home last night that we're all being turned on each other, and the division that's being created is absolutely disgusting, mainly created by angry middle-aged white men who know exactly what they're doing.
I'm sorry, I just, and I know I tell you every week I'm going to come here and I'm going to be calm. We're being turned against each other, mainly by angry, middle-aged white men who deem it OK to put up flags. And he then went on to say that he owns several buildings in Manchester where he's been building for 15 or 20 years, and he saw one the other day and he took it down. So disrespectful does he think it is? I'd love to know your thoughts on this. I'm not going to sit here and say stick to football. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. But entitled's the word I want to give you, right? Why am I surrounded by people like Neville who have made millions on the back of working class people, people they're supposed to represent, people they're supposed to respect? Does he actually believe that middle-aged white men raising flags is causing division in this country? I said to Ian, and I'll say to you guys now on this show, 3 hours after those poor Jewish people on Yom Kippur were murdered by that terrorist called Jihad, make up your own lines for God's sake, shouldn't have been in the country, but there we go. A protest march not 3 hours later and not a mile away, with people waving Palestinian flags and shouting obscenities. But Gary Neville wouldn't mention that, would he? No, but if you stood up and you went, I think it's disgraceful that these people are marching and inciting violence, people like Neville would go, oh, this is unfair. But it's all right to attack middle-aged white men. I'll tell you what, Gary Neville, right? Do two things. Take your fortune and give it to every immigrant and every group that you think isn't treated well in this country. Do that, but you won't, will you? Or go and live somewhere, you numpty, where there are immigrants on the streets and where your teenage daughters might not feel safe, rather than behind the gates of your massive mansion in Cheshire. I think it's an absolute outrage. I don't know what you think. 0344 499 1000. The Tory party conference, the other thing we'll talk about today, Been there, done it, worn the T-shirt. I thought Lord Frost is quite interesting. He said, he's quite a well-known Tory. He says, chill out. It's all a bit too positive. He doesn't expect too much. And the big news as well today, well, two other big stories. Police are to get greater powers to ban repeated protests. Now, you could say, good on you, Shabana Mahmood has come to the parties, the New Home Section is doing something about it. Or you could say, why has it taken them 15 months? Is this just a reaction because they realise that people have had enough? Because that's quite relevant. And then we will, at some point, tear into Meghan Markle, who thought it would be a great idea to post a video from the back of her chauffeur-driven limo with her shoes off, feet up, legs crossed, humming music while going past where Princess Diana was killed. She is about as subtle as Gary Neville. 0344 499 1000. We're going to start slightly differently today. A man for all seasons, a man of quality, a man who barely knows how to get anything wrong. We say a very good afternoon to Lord Benedict of Spenceton. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you doing, Jeremy?
I'm all right. I'm going to throw at you something. Yes, a biscuit. No, I'm going to throw at you something because I know that you will be able to do this. How would you sum up Gary Neville and his ilk?
And his ilk?
Yes.
A moderately successful person who has now decided to take it out on people who are moderately less successful than him for his own fashionable opinions. Gary Neville is somebody who, I mean, you actually did this quite well at the start of the show. He was part of a very successful football team. He was not the most talented member of that football team, but he did very well. He's made an awful lot of money. He's also carved out a career as a pundit. And now he's started to delve more into the realms of politics and social commentary.
Let's not forget, actually, Ryan told me this earlier, and I forgot. I should have said this in the opening. He's the one who shared a stage with Keir Starmer during the last election. He's made no secret of his Labour route, and that's absolutely fine. No mention from his trap, by the way, at what a disaster the Labour Party have been.
Oh, there's never a mention from these people, though, is there? There's never a mention from all of the people, all of the activists, all of the celebrities before the election when they go, come out and vote Labour because it'll all get better. And then when it all gets worse, they go, well, vote Labour again and maybe it'll get better next time. And honestly, there's never any sort of introspection. At the very least, with Conservatives, with people on the right, they were as happy to stick the boot into the Tories at the last election as anybody else was. But you never really get that sort of introspection, that sort of soul-searching. But the thing is with Gary Neville, I find this all, he is, if you like, a sort of a safe commentator. He's almost like a sort of a regime commentator.
Yeah.
Like, he feels safe enough in saying these things because, as you've alluded to, he is completely insulated from the realities of the world that most people actually live in. And yeah, okay, maybe he came from a working class background. Maybe he had to work very hard, not questioning that, in order to become a very successful footballer. That's fine. But he's not part of that now. He is not a working class.
Absolutely.
Normal. You can see, anybody who is watching this can see on the screen right now, rather than listening, him in his suit at some event, talking, pontificating. He is asked for his opinions on all sorts of things. He is paid a fortune by all sorts of broadcasters to give his opinion on football. And, of course, people hire him as a speaker as well.
There he is with Keir Starmer. Let me read you something from Martin Waddington, because I think this is absolutely nailed on, B. Mr. Carr, Gary Neville, has he headed too many balls, biting the hand that used to feed him? The very people who used to cheer him on for England and Man United now appear to be his mortal enemies. If he has such disdain for his fellow countrymen and women, how about handing back your England caps, Gary? Stick to talking about football. At least you can style that one out. A wannabe Lineker, a Planctus Maximus, Waddy in Mungseaton, pronounced Woody. I don't know what that means, but it's right, isn't it? The Labour Party have gone on and on about the working people, and the working people will listen to that and go, you're not one of us, Gary Neville, not in a million years, man.
This is exactly it. This is Gary Neville signalling not to the working man, but to the upper middle class man, to that sort of, you know, the culture, the literati, the liberal establishment. He's saying, I'm not like them where I came from. I'm now like you. Please accept me as more than just somebody who talks about football, because there is still a certain snobbishness. Let's be clear about people for whom sport is their raison d'etre. Gary Lineker was able to sort of traverse that bound, as you say, by deciding to delve into other things, by deciding to talk about woke talking points. But these are safe opinions that Gary Neville is actually putting out there. These are things that Guardian readers will go, yes, absolutely right. Here is the true voice of the working man. This is Gary Neville, and this is what we want from the working people. This is what we want them to be. And he speaks for those people, but of course he doesn't. He speaks for the Guardian reader. And the reality is, it's actually very rare to hear footballers or former footballers coming out and talking about politics. Why? Because the sort of things that Gary Neville is saying are very safe. But the average footballer does not, in fact, have these views. The average footballer is a complex person. The average footballer comes from a working class background and maybe doesn't agree with Gary Neville. Maybe he does think that it's bad that he's not able to put up his own flag or is called bigoted for singing the national anthem. A lot of the footballers come from worlds in which actually they live in sort of crushing poverty. As one of the things that we always find, one of the things that is never really spoken about when you have, for example, in football, you have the Rainbow Laces campaign about kicking out racism, kicking out homophobia. Now, this is not me saying that the average footballer is a bad person, but a lot of footballers who come from not England, not Europe, come from across the world, they don't have what you might call the most progressive views on all sorts of things. But you never hear them talking about it. They're never asked about it because they know if they voice their opinion on religion, on gay rights, on women's rights, anything like that, they will be lambasted in this country. But
I think he for me, and sorry, go on, crack on, mate.
But of course, if they let's take a Muslim footballer, say, who's come from the Middle East or Africa. If he comes to this country and he says, actually, no, I have a very sort of conservative view of life, and I think that this is a woman's role, and this is a... He will be lambasted in this country, but he can't win because, of course, if he then tries to do the thing which our society demands, which says kowtow at the altar of progressivism, and he goes, oh, actually, it's all fine, I believe in all of these rights, equality, and white people, all that sort of thing, then if he goes back to his own country, then he's lambasted.
This is absolutely on point. This is probably another one of those moments on Drive. The response has been phenomenal. Let's go to Leicester. You happy to take a call, me, Benedict? Michael, you're on Talk Drive. Couple of minutes. Benedict's with me. What do you want to say?
Well, I was going to say, as you know, fan, I love Gary Neville as a football player, but what he said yesterday was absolutely disgusting. He should be banned from Twitter, and Sky Sports should hand his fee 45 and sack him off today. Literally.
Is it, what, all right, help me out, both of you, right? How do you, here's me trying to play the middleman, how do we quantify free speech? You should be able to have your opinion with that. What annoys me, by the way, about what he said was, it's just that is so much of the left-wing establishment. It's middle-class white men lifting flags, you disgusting human being. But he will just say, that's the opinion of the masses. This is just a far-right movement wanting to instigate. He didn't moan at the people on the Palestinian march, Benedict, did he? He didn't say that that was inciting violence. I saw some video footage shown to me that was taken 2 days after the October the 7th attacks 2 years ago. It was shown to me by a friend of mine who's Jewish. He's a good friend. I can't even use the words. They were in cars hanging out the roof with Palestinian flags saying, murder their husbands and rape their daughters and their mothers. That is a fact. But why weren't they dragged off the streets? People like Neville only see one side. He would say, we only see one side, Benedict.
Yeah, the thing, of course, with all of that is around the Palestinian movement and other sort of minority movements is people like Gary Neville are afraid, of criticising them because they think that they'll be accused of being racist or...
But not afraid of criticising and putting down the very people that put him where he is.
Exactly, because he doesn't expect for 1 second he's going to get a major backlash. If you criticise the Palestine campaign, if you say anything untoward about them, they descend on you, they call for you to be cancelled, they put all kinds of pressure on you. But actually the thing is about normal people, if you criticise normal people for their views, they tend to respond more normally. Yeah. They don't actually call for your life to be absolutely trashed. They may disagree with you. The average English person may go, I don't like the sound of that. Oh, I think a little bit differently about you. But you know what they don't do? They don't call for your life to be uprooted and ended, because that is the sort of thing that abnormal people do. But that's the sort of thing that we see on the streets of London and other major cities every weekend. People behaving, frankly, in an abnormal manner where they think it is acceptable to glorify in the mass murder of Jewish people just for being Jewish, where they think that it is perfectly normal to disrupt everyone else's daily life just for their own political cause. That is abnormal. But that is why
why is it then? Help me out, because you're more intelligent than me by a merry mile. Why is it that people with our view, which is called, right of centre, are either treated like... I meet people all the time and say, oh my God, talk is amazing and please keep this going. And yet, if you listen to the Gary Nevilles of this world and other people, we are the devil incarnate. The devil incarnate.
Yeah, and this is the increasing polarisation of politics, not just in this country, but also, just in the Anglosphere in general, is that the majority of people are hated by what you would call the progressives. The progressives are not really, they call themselves progressives because they think everything is forward-facing and what we're doing is the right way to go. And, it's one of those little tricks. It's a bit like calling yourself, we're the kittens and puppy party, therefore you can't possibly hate us because we're in favor of kittens and puppies. They call themselves progressive, and if you criticize them, they go, so you're in favor of going backwards, right? But that's what they call themselves. But they are effectively revolutionaries. That's the way to look at them. They want to smash things. They're not ever, they're not always entirely sure what it is they want to smash, but they don't like what most people stand for. They want to destroy that. They want to uproot it. They want to replace it with something better. Now, of course, when you get into the nitty-bitty details of all of that, and people go, well, maybe we want to go in the Marxist-Leninist direction, or maybe we want to go more of a sort of a Gramscian element, well, then the whole thing falls down, and you get the Zara Sultana, Jeremy Corbyn, let's all have a split before we actually achieve anything.
The Fruit and Nut Party. Calls all over the place here, B. They're loving you. Let's go to Peterborough. Sharon, you're on Talk Drive. Benedict Spence with me. What you got?
Oh, hello, Jeremy. I'm so glad it's you. I've just sat and listened to all these people ringing and saying, they shouldn't put the flags up. It might cause problems. And Benedict is correct. Moderate footballer, definitely. If Gary Lineker hadn't been in a team full of superstars, he'd have been nothing. And neither he nor Gary Lineker have ever won anything for England. They're not fit to lick Bobby Ball's boots. Anyway, those men putting those flags up, they are fighting for us, and they're not being violent. They're going out in the night and they're hanging those, and every flag I see brings joy to my heart.
What do you say to the people who say it's divisive? It's designed to cause division. This country is splitting. You heard Gary Neville say, we're being turned against each other, specifically by angry white men raising flags. That's what he said.
We're being turned against each other by the government, Jeremy. They're dividing us, and the thing is, they've ruined this country with the multiculturalism. What are we supposed to do? Just sit back and do nothing? We aren't proud of those men, and what are they supposed to do? Take out a tape measure at night and measure how high the flags are and if they're level? I'm glad they're doing something, and I'm proud of the women too, and if they really start, then they'll know it.
Well, look what they did at Epping, Benedict. Those women, mothers of teenage daughters, saying we're not going to accept that these migrants could be in hotels next door. We're not racist. We're mothers looking after our daughters, Benedict.
But you know exactly what this is. I mean, you just sort of hit the nail on the head there. This isn't divisive at all. This is about asserting a unified stance. This is about unification, about an identity. But it's also, as in the case of the women in Epping, it's about obeying the rules. It's about saying everybody obeys the rules. We don't want children or women to be put in danger. And I think it's really important that we're talking about English flags, because England is an identity, as well as being a nation, it's an identity that can be established. You can put your finger very firmly on what that is. But what we're often told is what you have to go for is British values. And that's a lot easier to sort of obfuscate, because that can mean Scottish, that can mean Welsh, that can mean all sorts of things, and it becomes a bit of a mess. And then the state gets to say, well, we define what your identity is, because you can't quite decide what it is. And that's why I think it's very interesting that people are now putting up English flags, because English as a concept, as an identity, is a far easier thing for people to ascribe to and to understand. And I think that's exactly why you get people like Gary Neville opposing that, because their ideology is, no, we don't want that settled identity. We want something that we can manufacture for ourselves.
Couldn't agree more. Sharon, thank you. 0344 499 1000. Benedict, just very quickly, got through Alex Shelbrooke MP next, Conservative for Wetherby. Tory party conference today, been trying to be inspired, just seen a poll, 50% of the Tory party don't think that Kemi Badenoch will actually be the next leader. Almost a half want them to liaise with reform. Lord Frost says, you're all being a bit chipper. It's a bit of a what's-it show, stop being so positive. Mel Stride said, and I quote, we're not going to give benefits to migrants, only for people from Britain. It's the same as I tried to say to Ian Collins. I feel like I've been to that party 2 weeks ago. I've had the party bag, I've been on the toys, and I feel like my mum's taking me back to the same party, and I'm going to go, I've heard this before. They're playing bleed and catch-up the whole time, aren't they, to reform? That is a fact.
They are. And the route back for the Conservative Party, if there is a route back, is going to take the best part of a decade. And we need to be clear about that. Actually, they still have a role to play, keeping reform honest, actually providing an alternative to them if reform actually, drop the ball in some way. But let's be clear, the Tories have done this to themselves. They've set fire to their own support. They had it all on a plate. They lost it all. People don't trust them anymore. It's going to take a long time, a lot of penance and rebuilding before we actually get into a position where we go, yeah, this is a serious party government again. And I have to say, just very quickly, whilst they just start promising things like, well, we're not going to give benefits to migrants, having just lost power as a result, partly because of their policy towards migrants, it sounds very hollow, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It really sounds like they're parroting Farage.
I find it astonishing that Nigel Farage has 5 MPs and is lauded, well, not lauded, slagged repeatedly by, what was it, Ed Davey? 32 times he mentioned his name in his speech. Keir Starmer's obviously got, I know he said Trump, Farage derangement syndrome, because they ignored Her Majesty's opposition, 121 seats, literally not in the game. Benedict Spence, you are a legend. Have you got a flag outside your house?
Oh, I don't have any space outside my house. I'm outside somebody else's house right now. So.
Oh, right, in the afternoon.
It keeps happening. I really need to stop doing this.
Oi, oi! That's where we've got. You see, if this was another show, I'd be. Never mind. Benedict Spence, thank you very much indeed. What is it? 4:22. We're live across the United Kingdom on this station.
Fake news.
None.
Fake news. Fake
No.
news.
There's no fake news. It's all the truth. It's common sense. It's 0344 499 1000. We're back in 3.
Remotely acceptable. No, the people who need to be dealt with are the people who mean that Jews need to be protected. The Jews and Israel and the Middle East are standing at the front line of the battle for Western civilization. And the sooner we get that, the sooner we will deal with it. But deal with it we must.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I was laughing, and then the last advert was for a funeral service. Welcome to Drive. This is JK, our home of free speech and common sense. 0344 499 1000. No, Jodie. Solopay. Anyway, Solopay. Is it Solopay? Solopay. Sholopay. She's here. She's bloody brilliant, by the way. 344 499 1000. Afternoon, JK. Sounds to me that Mr. Neville has spent far too much time with Mr. Lineker and they've both got Pillock syndrome. Must be contagious. At least he wasn't talking about you, young white man, because you're an old git. That's nice, isn't it? That's charming, that is. Hello to Margaret's in Birmingham. When do we have to ask Gary bloody Neville if we want to fly the flag? Keep your opinions and stick them right up. Ooh, that's the biggest own goal. Will Sky get rid? Of course they won't. Brad in Cambridge. All of society's problems are apparently caused by angry middle-aged white men, says an angry middle-aged white man who has made millions by mainly middle-aged white men working for him. Yes, or working people. I'm sick of these virtue signalling celebs. Brad's in Chiswick. Can't we start a petition, Jez, for the duo of Garys to pledge 50% of their fortune to house, feed and look after illegal migrants? Yeah, you're right. Jay, as a United fan, Jez, who loved this man as a player, I'm disgusted by his comments. Who the hell does he think he is? Shame on you, Nev. I'm done with you. Chris Hilton, I wonder what his dad Neville would have made of his comments. Jeremy, Neville is looking at his own future Oh, this is interesting. He wants to be the mayor of Manchester. Yeah, 2 Opes. No Ope and Bob Ope. And Bob Ope's dead. Daryl's from Lincoln. People like Gary Neville just sit in their ivory towers casting their misguided opinions on this country. Then they go off to their yachts in the Mediterranean and forget about what we have to live with day after day. Got no respect at all for his opinions. Yeah, this is interesting. Somebody's saying anonymously, don't forget that Neville once refused to sing the national anthem before an England match whilst the rest of the team did. Didn't know that. Robert in Hexham, great place. The best mate lives in Hexham. Jez, a great show. Keep it going. Gary Neville wants his mate Andy Burnham as Prime Minister and he wants to be the Mayor of Manchester. Common sense. That makes sense. Neil's in Stoke. Gary Neville, Gary Lineker, Carol Vorderman, what do they all have in common? Answer, loads of money earned with limited talent and huge egos. Great, keep the calls coming. 0344 499 1000, text to 87222 428. So it is the Tory party conference. We're delighted to be joined. Try and keep as much balance as possible. Sir Alec Shelbrooke MP, Conservative for Wetherby, an easing Wold. How are you, sir?
Hi, Jeremy, how are you?
Well, you're looking a lot smarter than the last time I saw you. You're all done up there in the old suit and tie. Just a quick question.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't...
Put my jacket on just for you, Jeremy.
Yeah. Tattoos and earrings are gone. I just wanted to ask you something. I don't want you to take it the wrong way, because you and I will always get on fine. Did the whole party conference come on a minibus? There looks to be about 40 people there, pal. What's going on? Don't look very well supported, does it?
It's all right. I mean, it is quieter than compared to normal years. I think the thing is there's a lot of people here who don't remember when we were in Oppo right at the turn of the century, 02, 03, they were quiet conferences. I think, these days, what's important is getting the message out. But yeah, undoubtedly it's quieter than it has been, but that's just where we are in the cycle.
I do love your honesty, which is why we have the pleasure of having you on, Alec. A poll just out says that half of Conservative members think that Kemi Badenoch should not lead the party into the next election. It's an exclusive Sky News Tory members poll. The YouGov poll found 46% think your current leader should stay in place, but 54% think she should no. And also nearly 0.5% of members in that survey said you should make a pact with reform. Now, the biggest criticism that people would have if they were texting and calling, and I can do it directly to you, I've said it to you before and you've always answered me honestly, is I feel that the Tory party appear to simply be playing catch-up. I tried to describe it earlier. We've got Mel Stride saying, no benefits to people who aren't British. That was talked about by Reform 6 weeks ago. We're going to do this. It just seems that right now, and maybe it's the political cycle, Farage, even the Greens seem to be making gains, but Farage has his finger on the pulse and people are listening to him. But more than anything, Alec, and it must be frustrating for you guys, he seems to be ahead of the game, always. You're not having a meeting or working out how you're going to put it, and it's all been done.
Well, as I've said to you before, Jeremy, we can all shout out what the problems are, and people will be interviewed in the street and they turn around and say, yeah, he says what I think. That's one side of it. But you've also got to come out with what you're going to do about it. And I think that's the difference. Rather than just saying, well, we're going to deport all these people, everything else. What Macron said about, we're getting rid of the pull factors. If you look at some of the announcements Mel's done today, he's actually outlining, this is what we're going to do. We're going to have to cut the welfare bill. Look, at the end of the day, we've gone through a year where Kemi has basically said to people, yeah, we get it. We messed up in so many areas and we have got to renew all of that. And there's a lot of people said, oh, we shouldn't be criticising our own government in the past. And she said, no, we absolutely should, because the public know that we ballsed a lot of it up. And she said, I recognise that and we've got to make changes. Then what you've got to do is, yes, there are a lot of people saying these are the problems and, that's what the problem is. but what are you going to do about it and how are you going to do it? And I think that is the difference, Jeremy, is that we're going to move forward with an actual plan in place rather than just shouting for the rooftops, because we can all do that. I'm sure you and I have done it from the terrace many a time.
Yeah. Right, that's fine, and I accept that, right? The problem is, you can tell me that Mel Stride, we'll play the clip in a minute, today came out with feasibly more meat on the bone, you'll say, than both Labour and Reform. My point is that the British public, right, are so fed up with listening to detail and debate and meat on the bone that doesn't materialise, that maybe Farage hasn't filled in all the blanks yet. Look at how Sir Keir Starmer won a massive landslide majority with the Ming vote. He didn't say bugger all for 2 years. That's how he got elected. If he'd opened his mouth, I think it would have been a different result. What I want to always say to Tories, I said it to Matt the other day and he looked frustrated as well, is you must be frustrated that whilst she's sitting around having a discussion and working out where it went wrong, your limelight and thus what you're trying to say is eroded in a heartbeat. You have to be quicker off the mark, don't you? That's how I see it as an ex-Tory voter. That's me being honest. I don't hear from you until I've heard from Farage.
Yeah, no, I get that in terms of where we are at this moment in time. There is a hell of a long way to go until 2029.
Yep.
And I do think that it's putting it across slowly, surely and sensibly. And I agree with you. We do sort of live in a world now where, hey, you can do it straight away. It's on all sorts of media. And people are saying, you've got to say these things now. Maybe you say, right, yeah, I agree. This is a problem. This is a problem. But the approach that Kemi's taken is, this is the problem. This is what we think we're going to do about it. And I think someone put it quite well. So I keep whacking the microphone, Jeremy.
Right.
Somebody put it quite well, said, we're past post-it policies, and I think that's an important point.
But I think you risk by that, Alex.
To go.
I know, I get that, but you risk, do you not, the trap that Sir Keir Starmer, well, I don't want to call him Sir, but Starmer fell into the other day, when he actually stood up and called that every single one of the millions of people that currently support reform were racist. If you just basically say to them, come on, reform's just about post-it notes, or the Green Party's about post-it notes, I don't know where the Tory party go. You heard Benedict Spence, Conservative commentator, say it will be a decade. Now, whether you can turn it round before that or not, it must be dispiriting for honest, hard-working Tory supporters who perhaps feel very let down by what happened in the last few years, the many prime ministers, the changes of course, the lack of doing what they said they were going to do. Do you ever think it's irretrievable, or do you keep fighting with the belief you can turn it round?
So I honestly think we can turn it around, and the reason I say that, Jeremy, because I don't just say things to make it sound stupid. Don't. You would say that. The reason I say that is because I was there between 97, 01. I did a lot in the 01 campaign. I'm there 01 through to 05, and we were nowhere. And I keep saying that one of the important things about the 01 election was in 1998, William Hague took a decision with the party that we were going to campaign to keep the pound.
Yep.
Really relevant in 1998. We weren't getting rid of it in 2001, and yet that was the campaign. Utterly irrelevant. We gained one seat. We then went through 01 to 05, where was the policy coming from? What was going on? And, we had the Iraq War, hugely unpopular. Tony Blair wasn't exactly firing on all cylinders at that point. And we said, are you thinking what we're thinking? And people said, well, no, we are, but what are you going to do about it? And I think there lies a lesson. Those 2 terms, we weren't anywhere. And that policy of 05 is, are you thinking what we're thinking? Yeah, well, I might be, but that's fine. I might be thinking what you're thinking. What are you going to do about it? And despite everything that had gone on leading up to 05, Blair still wins a 64-seat majority.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not... What about Lord Frost? He says it's too positive, the 11 people that have turned up. He says you need to chill out and start putting meat on the bone. You're all rushing around being far too positive. I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
I've got no idea. I mean, look, I always think the most important thing in politics is to stay calm. And that's something which hasn't been happening in several years when we were in government. Stay calm. Because, look, I think, if I give you an analogy, Jeremy, I think, we have a ship. And first of all, you've got to turn that ship around.
I'm so glad you said ship there. I was quite worried.
It turned around. Yeah. You've got to turn it around. Yeah. And the reality is, you're saying we've got to get it to that port. Now, along the way, you're going to travel to some really big storms. If you say, actually, I'm going to go to a different port, that's fine. You might get there, but there's going to be no sod on the quayside.
No, listen, I don't disagree. I'd like your response, actually, quickly, live from the Tory party conference. I mean, I can hardly hear you for the noise. Gary Neville, you must have seen that today.
Yeah.
I mean, middle-aged white men flying Union Jacks are dividing Britain in the wake of the Manchester synagogue attack. I've said my own piece about multi-millionaire ex-footballers who perhaps should go and live somewhere where there are migrants or should give their fortune away for all these causes they jump on the back of. What annoys me about that, and so much about the left, or the liberal left as I call it, is if you dared to put the boot on the other foot and criticised a Palestine Action March and saw some of the vile things that are being said, you would be branded a racist and you would be treated like a pariah, quite rightly. But to make a fortune out of working class people in and around Manchester and to throw them under the bus under some political ideology needs calling out, doesn't it, Alec?
It damn well does, Jeremy. And let me tell you, this arrogance, this absolute arrogance of these people to say that our flag is being hijacked. I've put a statement out recently on my social media, and I've said that is exactly why we should be proud to fly the flag, and we should fly the flag. It is our flag. Listen, Jeremy, why do we repatriate our war dead with the flag? Because it represents our values. Our values are freedom, freedom of speech, the rule of law, that we actually are a country that welcomes everybody within our communities and we work with them. We have disagreements, but to try and claim that that flag is somehow racist, that's outrageous. And let me just say, Jeremy, here's a man who made probably millions and millions out of the fact he played for England. Yeah. Well, perhaps he should have just waited for the Olympics and only played in a Great Britain team.
Couldn't agree with you. Couldn't agree with you more.
Hypocrisy. It's the hypocrisy, Jeremy.
I like debate. I don't care if you're diametrically opposed to me. I think that's the beauty of this job and the job that you do. But to pass judgment and look down his narcissistic nose at anybody who doesn't have the same opinion, I think is appalling and symptomatic of so much. So, Sir Alex Shelbrooke, you are brilliant. You've joined us from the Conservative Party conference. You are, I was going to say flying the flag. That's probably the wrong thing to say for the tourists. 4 questions. Judging by this YouGov poll today, is Kemi going to lead you into the next general election? Watch him say yes.
I really believe she will. I mean, look, we've been in these situations before. Margaret Thatcher was just deemed to have she would not win the 79 election. And even up to 1981, there were like 100 Tory MPs wanting to get rid of her, saying it's all a disaster. No, I think she will, because I think it's steady and it's a plan. And I think that politics has lacked that. And actually, Jeremy, just to draw on what you said about Keir Starmer and saying he just sat there, let us mess it up, didn't have a plan. Well, boy, are the public angry about that.
He won't lead them.
Did not have a plan.
He won't lead them into the next election. If, as people or polls are predicting, Nigel Farage has the biggest majority, can you see a situation where the Conservative Party tries to join with Reform, some sort of pact?
I just think that when the final maths is done, all sorts of things can happen. And I think, we don't know. And I've never got into this game because I absolutely believe that we will be the biggest party. And that sounds ridiculous right now. I know that. Yeah, I know it sounds ridiculous right now, but there are 4 million Conservative voters who didn't switch party, who didn't vote. We need the policies that gets them out, and you've got to make sure that they're right and you get them out. If we do that, everything's on its head. Jeremy, there wasn't a single opinion poll for the 2 years leading up to the general election that didn't have Labour on 40% plus. And the reason that it came out at 34% was this massively depressed turnout. Get the turnout back up, get our voters out. You've got very shallow majorities in a lot of these constituencies. I think a lot can change. 4 years.
I love your honesty. One final question. If Kemi Badenoch doesn't turn it round, can you ever see Alex Shelbrooke, MP, defecting to Reform?
No. Because they're not my party, Jeremy. And it's interesting, a lot of people have said to me, you should go to Reform, etc., etc. People were saying that to me when I started my political career at the turn of the century, saying you should be in the Labour Party. It's the only hope you've got.
Doesn't he look good for a man who started standing 125 years ago? Alex Shelbrooke, you're a top man. I could hardly hear you for all the noise, but we appreciate you joining us from the Tory Party conference in Manchester. What is it, 20 to 5? 0344 499 1000. Back in 3.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Never have a biscuit during a break when they suddenly go at 7 seconds. We say a very good evening to a man who will provide the fire. He will bring it. Ladies and gentlemen, if I was ever in charge, you'd be in charge of the police. Peter Blexley, how are you, my friend?
Fire and brimstone I bring to your show this afternoon.
But not...
That's such fake news.
No, none of
You're
that.
fake news.
None of that.
Listen, you're fake news. You're fake news.
No fake news on this station. By the way, before Blexley starts pontificating, 0344 499 1000, I start with this. You horrible, middle-class, white, rancid human being who thinks it's OK to raise flags. Gary Neville got it right, didn't he, when he said it's people like you, Peter Blexley, and me who have created division in this country. It's all right for Palestinian action to march, but you horrible, middle-class, white man, it's your fault.
Well, I'm saving up to be a socialist. You see, if I was as rich as Mr. Neville, I could be, couldn't I?
Yeah.
And you know what? I went to the barbers this afternoon.
Did you? Who cut your hair? The council?
And I treated myself
Did you?
to a coffee.
Oh.
In a coffee shop just over the road from
What,
the barbers.
before you had your hair cut?
No, after.
Right.
So I'm sitting there having a cup of coffee on my own, just, checking the phone and what have you.
Yeah.
No less than 3 separate people came up to me and they joined me and we sat down and what have you. They were very gracious and very kind, saying that I'm talking sense, keep going, they love it, and they expressed their political opinions, and let me just say they were diametrically opposed to Gary Neville, former footballer.
Yeah, but you were in your house. You went home for a coffee and your family came round. That's what it was, wasn't it?
on the streets of Sidcup this afternoon.
Now, there's a brave place to be.
And people were lovely.
No, listen, I find it... like I said earlier, I mean, you've seen the clip. I mean, he's literally saying we're being divided, we're being railed against each other, and it's basically in the hands of middle-class white men who raise flags. And you and I have talked about this before. I mean, the horrors of last week, I wasn't on air, when the Jewish community in Heaton Park, right? This is a man brought up in Manchester who's made his money on the back of working class people. Doesn't mention the Palestinian Action March. How disrespectful was that? Doesn't mention anything, and you've got that look on your face again, which means shut up, Jezza.
It won't take that long to be proven beyond all doubt that Mr. Gary Neville is on the wrong side of history. All right? All you got to do, bide your time.
Yeah.
The time will come and he will be shown to be the divisive fool that he is.
Instead of appearing to be this sort of sanctimonious, smug, narcissistic, vacuous pain in the arse that gets me so angry, because if you try to have a discussion with these people, they look at you like you've gone into their house on Christmas Day and nicked their kids' presents. They look at you like you're mad, don't they? They do it the whole time. And really? Oh, Kyle. Oh, Blexley. Oh, they only support... No, you... Oh.
They are left with one argument and one argument only, and it wears thinner by the day.
Who cut your hair, by the way?
They say you're a racist, and you say you're just getting it manifestly wrong.
Yes.
Okay? And they will be shown to be on the wrong side of history.
I'm going to go with you. I'm feeling confident. I'm going to go with you. Listen, the main reason I wanted to get you here, apart from I wanted you to rant. By the way, you've seen the Tory Party conference. It looks exciting, doesn't it?
Well, I saw Kemi Badenoch yesterday.
Well, you personally?
No.
Right.
I'm doing the media rounds yesterday.
Right. Yeah.
And I have to say, I mean, I'll give her some credit. She is fighting valiantly for her job and for her cause. Most interestingly...
Yes.
Because I pointed it out a few times in the media that her faux, very posh accent was actually alienating people and not going down very well at all. She's dropped it. Have you noticed?
No.
Oh, she's a lot...
Do you want everybody to sound as common as you? Is that what you basically want?
No,
at the end?
I don't. But
You
when
do,
it's
mate,
faux...
don't you?
When it's faux, when it's put on, when it's fake, press your buzzer.
Fake news.
Fake accent.
Fake news.
When it's a fake accent, drop it, because people see through it.
Do you think that my accent is fake, or do you think that it's ingrained in me?
See, your accent is altering now.
Well, one can, of course, say one should lead, you know.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
like, do you know what I mean? It's like, I feel, Do I feel sorry for her? I think we should not forget, by the way, that she was part of the government that failed manifestly to do what it told the British people it was going to do. I don't think... I mean, have you seen this poll this afternoon? 56% of a party want her out, don't think she'll fight the next election, and nearly half of the party think they should make a pact with Reform. Well, that's not going to work, because Reform don't need the Tories, do they?
And Nigel Farage has vowed on many an occasion to smash the Conservative
Only
Party.
because he's so hacked off still at what Johnson did to him. So, at Tory Party conference, I did say to Alex Shelbrooke, I didn't get a response. I said, did everybody go on one minibus? It didn't look very well attended, did it?
No, but just while we're talking about accents, because I don't want to drop that, right?
Oh.
If Radio 4 came calling with £1 million a day, you'd jump at the chance and utilise that accent to its full capacity, wouldn't you?
I can tell you categorically, with my hand on my heart, there is no money in the world that would get me to work for that revolting... awful. Did you not see Have I Got News for You on Friday?
No, I didn't.
They must be pretty desperate. They said, and Jeremy Carr was at the Reform concert, and they've cut up at the conference. They've cut up about 16 clips of me saying, "Am I going to get any bloody food?" It was actually quite funny, but I remember saying to one of the guys here today, if they're following me on Reform TV, and they must. It was a big edit. The BBC, listen, mate, I have a problem with the BBC in that we've got to pay you 170 quid to do stuff that I don't want to watch. You should be subscription like everybody else. That's a different debate for another day.
Indeed, forgive me.
We're going to go to an ad break and we're going to come back because police are to get stronger powers, hurrah, to deal with protests.
Well, we hope they are.
Oh.
Shabana Mahmood has put forward proposals. We'll have to wait and see.
You mean it could be...
But
You are fake news.
No, but...
You're fake news.
But will they get the powers they need?
Does it not strike you, and I'll throw this out to everybody, does it not strike you that it's all a little bit too little too late? Why didn't they bring this out 14 months ago? This is reactive politics again. There's no plan, is there?
Well, there was a report created by, forgive me, his name evades me just for the moment. He was Lord Walmsley, that's it, Lord Walmsley. He wrote a report on on protesting and policing powers and all of that. And he's actually suggested that they need the powers to ban them. Shabana Mahmood's not gone quite that far yet with her proposals. We shall have to wait and see. What is happening is that Palestine Action, of over 2,000 of those people have been nicked in recent weeks. 2,000 at 3 of those protests, right? First one was 500, second one was 900, third one 500 plus, right? 2,000 people have to be processed, potentially charged, enter the criminal justice system.
Just ban the marches.
Clogging it up.
Just ban the marches.
Yeah, but you see, they'll break the law, they'll go and march anyway, and it'll be same arrests but different offence.
Right, 10 to 5, he's going to take a breather in his cream suit with his blue shirt. He's becoming good of fashion.
Silver.
What's silver?
My suit is silver, not cream.
No, your hair's silver. Back in 3.
We have a Labour Party that is in denial on that and borrowing and spending and taxing like there's no tomorrow. And we've got a Reform Party which is peddling fantasy economics, promising everybody everything they want to hear, but not really coming up with any clear plan as to how they're going to deliver or pay for it. And we've got to be the grown-ups in the room. We do need to get a grip of debt, the servicing costs on that debt, and that means getting a grip on government spending. We can no longer continue in the way we are, living beyond our means, because I'm afraid that will end up in a very dark place if we do.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
7 minutes to 5. Peter Blexley with me. Pete, so police to get stronger powers at protests. Police could be given powers to ban protests outright. Shabana Mahmood, the new Home Secretary, has said, accepting that Jews are justified in asking for more from ministers. The Home Secretary said that officers would be able to curb repeat protests after organisers of pro-Palestinian rallies refused to postpone demonstration after the terrorist attack on a synagogue in Manchester on Thursday. Tell me more.
Yeah, we've got to be very careful that we don't conflate the two issues here,
right?
OK? The protests that happened during the week last week, right, one in Whitehall, it was a very small one but very disruptive, 40 people arrested, 6 police officers injured, so more arrests than at the Unite the Kingdom march. Just thought I'd point that out.
Are you sure?
Which was a zillion times bigger.
There was only 10,000 people turned up. Oh no, it was a million. There we go.
Yeah. So anyway, there you go, but didn't get any condemnation from Starmer, Mahmood, etc, etc,
No,
etc.
of course not.
Anyway, right, do not conflate the two issues, which is one, that it was in very bad taste to protest on Saturday, and secondly, that these people were deliberately breaking the law on Saturday, right? We know it's in bad taste, but just we've got to let that go now. It's happened. It's gone. The problem now is that these people go on these protests wanting to get arrested.
They want to be arrested.
They deliberately sit on the ground with their banners showing support for Palestine action, which is an offence under the Terrorism Act and has been since the 5th of July this year.
Yeah.
So that's why they're getting nicked in their hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds. They are trying to break the system. So even if they bring in new laws which ban them from holding these protests, they're going there to break the law anyway.
But if you
they will break the law some other way.
No, I get that. So Shabana Mahmood is saying that the Jewish community has a right to expect more from ministers. I keep saying the same thing repeatedly because I believe it. The thing that frustrates me most about this government, and I was massively frustrated about the last government, is it always seems to be, oh, now they're doing something about it. The bad taste, you say, has gone. But I have every right on my show to say this. I do have many Jewish friends, right?
Yeah.
I find it astonishing in 2025 that Jewish people, their kids can't wear their blazers on the school bus or in London for fear of that. I think it is disgusting when... I saw a great response from Tracy Oberman, the actress, the other day. They were saying, but how do you feel about Israel? I'm just an Israeli living in London. I don't have to agree with Netanyahu or not, but we have a right to live our lives peacefully. The Jewish community obviously defend themselves. The only democratically elected government in the Middle East, but I have real... I mean, I've had Jewish people say to me in the last week, we're done here. There's no point in us being here. If we are favouring a bunch of people against another bunch of people, how do we conflate? So that's not acceptable. Not in any way.
The problem is, people in government and Sir Mark Rowley, because yes, the buck stops with him, have manifestly forgotten that appeasement leads to empowering people, right? Remember when the Met sought legal advice and somebody from the CPS or wherever it was piped up and said, oh no, chanting for jihad doesn't actually mean calling for a holy war, and therefore it's not illegal because jihad can mean to have a mental striving to live a virtuous life. What a complete and utter load of nonsense. When they were chanting for jihad, when they were chanting from the river to the sea, they should have been introduced to the back of a police van. They should have been nicked.
Do you think the police are still, as they were with the rape gangs in Rotherham, terrified of making certain arrests or being stronger for fear of being accused of being racist or stirring up? But that isn't the same as the Gary Linekers or the Gary Nevilles of this world slagging off anybody white who thinks they should be able to put a flag up and celebrate being British, right? It's imbalanced.
I think the police have followed a policy of appeasement, which is coming back to bite them now.
Yep.
I also think, though, that the government are terrified of upsetting the bloc Muslim vote, because so many of their MPs that now sit in the House of Commons got elected.
Well, I completely agree, but I'm going to say something to you. Is there nobody in the Labour Party or the Labour government who fears losing the next election, because not just because of the bloc Muslim vote, but because millions of people who are not racist, by the way, Starmer, you pillock, but actually are frustrated with the way this country's going. They're not racist, they're not far right, they just feel that there's a degree of unfairness, there's a degree of entitlement for people who shouldn't get stuff, and they are missing out, despite the fact they've always played into it, never broken law, all the usual stuff, right? Do they not think in government that those people are going to elect them, throw them out, because they're sick to death of being treated as second-class citizens in their own country?
The lunatic left are so deluded. We saw them traipsing out of Liverpool last week, cock-a-hoop, celebrating what they thought was a wonderful party conference.
Yeah.
They are blind to it. They're blind and deaf to the fact that the groundswell of people in the country at the moment who have had enough, who are thinking about their children and their grandchildren, and they want them to have somewhere to live, they want them to have a job, they want them to not live in, dare I say it, if the rate of increase goes for another 2 decades or more, in some kind of Islamic caliphate, which, before people jump down my throat, you can go on social media and see imams and lunatic fundamental Islamists calling for that, saying that they're in Britain for takeover and not to live harmoniously alongside us.
Well, it's gone
right?
nuts.
People that are concerned about their kids and their grandkids are looking somewhere else to vote.
Couldn't agree more. What a moment to cough and get the biscuit stuck. Well done to Queen's Park Rangers.
Thank you.
Well done to Peter Blexley, top man. The father-in-law's been on. Peter Blexley, Chief of Police.
They're terrified of
They
me.
love you. News at 5 is next on Talk Drive.
the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hour two of Cheer. No, it's Monday's drive, isn't it? Well done, you can't get the days right. This is JK here until 7 o'clock. Thanks for tuning in as ever, my friends. 03444 99 1000. We'll take your calls. You can send voice notes. Ryan hasn't had one. He's a bit hacked off, to be honest. Or can we say hacked off? Probably not. 03444 499 1000. And your text messages, as ever, please. 87222. Start your message of the word talk. In a tick, we'll head to the Tory party conference where we'll go to a library. Oh, it is the library. This poll is extraordinary. The Tory party, you know, launched their conference yesterday. I don't know if the first thing you heard was that Kemi Badenoch's biggest personal donator, a man who funded her campaign to be leader, he's defected to Reform. Today, just as they were getting up and trying to speak to about 3 people, half of Tory members would support a full-blown merger with Reform UK. Half want a merger, Reform not interested. Half want Kemi Badenoch out, so she won't be there before the next election. No doubt they've got a difficult job ahead. We had Mel Stride today, standing up. He was on mic this morning saying, we're not going to give immigrants and people who aren't British benefits. Yes, Mel, but like I said, I went to that party 2 weeks ago. My mum let me play with all the kids. I got a party bag and I came home, and now you want me to go to the same party, play on the same toys and come back with the same party bag. You're 2 months, 2 years, 2 weeks too late, mate. You're playing catch-up always to Nigel Farage. That's the way it is, 5:05. So we'll do it. We'll cross live to Manchester. Is he in Manchester? Is he? This is brilliant. This man puts the professionalism in political editorship. God, that sounded good. Jack Elson from The Sun, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Jeremy. Sorry, I was busy texting some people when I heard you come through my ear.
Thank you. Yes, you just sent me a text. That was a bit of a dirty joke, wasn't it? Jack Elson, I asked Alex Shelbrooke just then whether, in fact, everybody had arrived at the Tory party conference on the same minibus, because it doesn't look that busy, me old son. I'm just being honest.
Well, it was busy at the bar last night, but only, I think, because there wasn't as many of the sort of conference fringe receptions where lobbyists and various think tank groups wine and dine, journalists and members like myself. Listen, there is a certain buzz around the place, but nowhere near to the extent of in previous years. Listen, I think the most important thing to level with you and viewers is don't really believe what you see in the conference hall, because what you'll see is big round of applause for Kemi Badenoch and Mel Stride and all the other shadow cabinet ministers, because that is the effect which sort of rally around the flag and living in the moment really has for them. But actually, scratch beneath the surface and you do find a lot of dissatisfaction with the way the Tory party is being led right now, and that is because Kemi Badenoch, in her year in the job, has really failed to turn around the polls. Now, she would say, clearly, she's only a year into the job and she needs more time to cut through. But at the moment, things are looking so damaging for her. And it's so damaging because she's fighting on 2 fronts. On the one hand, she's bleeding voters to the right, Reform and Nigel Farage. And at the second time, she's really struggling to get votes back from Labour, who went to Keir Starmer at the last election. So, yeah, it's very difficult for her right now.
It's really interesting. I mean, on the eve of, I said on the eve of yesterday, the biggest personal donor to Kemi Badenoch, a man who paid for most of her leadership campaign, defected to Reform, saying, I like Kemi Badenoch, but she just doesn't operate at the speed or with the intensity that I believe a person should be leading a major political party. Today, in a conference poll, almost half of Tory members, Jack, 46%, would support a full-blown merger with Reform. We know that Nigel Farage will never forgive the Conservative Party for what they didn't do for him after the Brexit vote. It's really interesting to me because, look, we always joke, I'm 60, you're much younger. I find it almost, I was saying this the other day, don't get shocked, peeps, right? I never thought that the Queen would die. Every day of my life, from when I realised the Queen was like the Queen, it was like the nation's grandmother. The Tory party has been the Tory party for as long as as long as I've been alive. But there is a very, very real possibility, is there not, that this once great party could literally disappear. I mean, if you look at, I know we're 3 years and 9 months out, but if you look at the polls at the moment, Jack, I think they get less than 50 seats. I mean, it's astonishing. Astonishing.
absolutely astonishing. I mean, the Tory party is the most successful party in Western democracy, but, and a very big but, no party has a God-given right to exist, and you live or die based on how well you communicate with the public, how much you sell to the public, and whether the public want to back you. And there does seem to be a bit of denialism amongst some of the shadow cabinet in this conference about just how existential this is. Someone put it to me quite well not too long ago. If you think about sort of a trip down memory lane here, Jeremy, you might remember this. Back in the early 1920s, when the Liberal Party were the main opposition to the Conservative Party, then the new kids on the block, Labour, came along, and the Liberals said, oh no, there's no way that these punks would ever replace us. Who's going to be their Foreign Secretary? Who's going to be their Home Secretary? All of these problems, and guess what? The Labour Party ended up subsuming the Liberals, and now we just had Ed Davey trying to cause a stir in his wetsuit. And the same thing, I think, could happen to the Conservative Party if they are too arrogant to recognise just how bad things are now and the crisis they are in. Then they do risk being subsumed by reform. And the power shift in recent years, think about 2019, when the Tories said to Nigel Farage, you need to stand down, son, because if you don't stand down, then you're going to let Jeremy Corbyn in. Now, any calls to unite the right are not about Nigel Farage standing down, it's about Kemi Badenoch standing down, the Tories standing down, and merging with reform.
It's really interesting that your point there.
Right. I don't think that's going to happen.
I think you're.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think that's going to happen.
No, and it's really weird actually. And you know this of Nigel. I know this of Nigel. For him, there's a degree of personal issue here. He did step down.
Yeah.
And then he got completely ostracised. He didn't get the knighthood, he didn't get anything. He was just thrown asunder. Now, you know, a lot of people will say, you know, Farage is just all bluster. There's no meat on the bone. I want to make this about the Tories, though. From the most horrendous result, they still have 121 MPs, but we saw it last week. We saw it in Liverpool. We saw it in Bournemouth. Every single party now seems to be going for a man who leads 5. This lady, and I'm sure she's a very competent and nice lady, Kemi Badenoch, but I don't believe that waiting 15 months to put any meat on the bone, you can tell me, it's like being a Premiership football manager nowadays. You ain't got, right? You ain't got 15 months. And it's like, I mean, my analogy at the start you'll think was terrible, but it's like going to the same party 2 weeks later with your mum and playing on the same toys and getting off with the same goodie bag, and you go, but Nigel Farage was saying that about immigrants' benefits. Nigel Farage was saying that about the boats. Nigel, whether he's right or wrong, he just seems to be ahead of them the whole time, and that for me is the glaring problem with Kemi, that she's always like, well, we're having a review. Darling, I could have told you 12 minutes after you lost the election. You didn't do what you told the British people you were going to do, so they don't trust whatever you say. So you need to get out there with people who can grasp the initiative orally, I guess, and say, look, we ballsed up, but this is what we're going to do. And I just don't see that they have a communicator. I don't see they have a dial mover like Farage. I just don't think they have it.
Yeah, you're totally right here. I mean, theoretically, leaders can come in and create a 5-year plan. And Kemi Badenoch has been very vocal about the fact that she says, give me time. Now, listen, if they come along and said, you know, in 2025, we're going to do our immigration policy, and in 2026, we're going to do our economic policy, in 2027, we're going to talk about the NHS, then, you know, that's all well and good, but you are right. The one thing she does not have is time, because not only are Tory MPs restless now because they see the polls, but there is a real danger that if you allow Nigel Farage to steal a march as you have, he is not only just in second place in the polls, he is now in first place. And, you know, even though our parliamentary system is fractured now, we do have 5 parties all in double digits, we still do have really a 2-party system in how it translates in this country. And if that 2-party system is now Reform versus Labour, as a third party in the Conservatives, when you fall, you can fall really, really quickly. Yeah. And if you are, you know, most seats are battlegrounds, right? And if you have the Tory party, who is not even at the races, then you're clearly going to get Reform and Labour to be the main beneficiaries of that. And that is, I think, what Kemi Badenoch is really grappling with now, the fact that she is now a third party in terms of the opinion polls. Obviously, she's still got about 140 MPs in the House of Commons, but in terms of the opinion polls...
Well, that's the point. And that, Jack, that's what people, and I keep saying this, you're a political operative, I'm not, but that's what I keep, you know, if you want to... Farage, whether it's on social media, whether it's doing the rounds, whatever, they just seem to be on the money. And I'm sure that when you've made the mistakes that the Tory party made, that they have to spend time looking at what went wrong. But whilst working out the detail, as you said, it could be the death knell for their party. And for me, the biggest issue is that both Labour, who have just categorised Reform as far right, the Tories who have said, you know, he's just a windbag, whilst they do all that, people are going, hold on a minute, that's what we actually used to vote for as a Tory, or that's what we actually believe in. We don't like what Labour are doing to us. So, look, it's incredibly interesting. The fact is, for all of us who get a kick out of this, it's going to be 3 years and 9 months of real interest. But I'll ask you the same question I've asked everybody. Do you think she leads the Tories into the next election? I don't.
I think those chances are looking increasingly slim. Listen, I think she can still turn it around. She does seem to be in fairly good form in this conference, but there are clearly underlying issues here. And listen, I think to her credit, I don't think that many leaders would be doing a hell of a lot better right now.
Yep.
I think it's not even a Kemi problem, I think it's a Tory problem, and I think it's a Nigel Farage who's stolen a march on them and is just doing incredibly well at gaining former Tory voters, but also former disgruntled Labour voters. There's clearly so much anger with Keir Starmer, but even when Kemi Badenoch manages to expose stuff, Peter Mandelson, Angela Rayner, the beneficiaries of people leaving the Labour Party over those scandals, they're not going back to the Tories, they're going elsewhere.
And the other thing is,
and that's her main issue at the moment.
You just nailed something that I actually hadn't thought of. I'm thinking on my feet now. It's all going on today for a Monday. You think about that leadership election, and the Tory party looked like they were going to vote for Jenrick, who was very vocal, had been in the Home Office to work with Suella Braverman and had changed his opinions because he saw the issues, and I thought would have taken the fight to Farage. And I don't think, hand on heart, that Reform would be as high up as they are right now if Robert Jenrick could grasp the nettle. But if they kick Badenoch out after a year and bring Jenrick in, the same thing will be acceptable to them. Well, they can be accused of the same thing, which is, you're too late. If Jenrick starts talking about immigration and the problems and all that, they go, well, hold on a minute, Nigel did that a year ago. I think they've called it wrong, and it's almost as if, I mean, and Benedict Spence was saying earlier, it'll take 10 to 15 years for them to right this ship, if at all.
There are two schools of thought right now in the Conservative Party, and it's what's doing the rounds in the bars and the conference halls here in Manchester. The first school of thought is, if you come from the conclusion that you don't think Kemi Badenoch will be the next Prime Minister, rip the plaster off now, let someone else like Robert Jenrick or James Cleverly have a go, so that at least they then have 3 or 4 years of being able to cut through with the electorate. But the other school of thought, I think, which is winning out here, is that if you change your leader again, then the Tories look even more silly than they already do. Yeah. Because the real thing which got them into trouble last time was not really their policies. Yes, you can talk about immigration and the economy, but it was the fact that they looked like an absolute shambles and a basket case week in, week out, changing their leader, 5 prime ministers, 5 years, machinations, infighting, bloodlust, and I think that is why the public just stopped listening to them. And if they do that again, the theory goes from some people, especially people in Kemi's team, then the public will get even more angry with them and the Tories will sink down even lower. But that being said, you know, we get to May, next local elections, and if the Tories are pushed into 4th in Scotland and Wales, things could get really, really good.
I'm going to stick my neck on the line. After May next year, Kemi Badenoch, Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves are gone. Right. I know what you think. Obviously, we're being professional here. Gary Neville. That was interesting, wasn't it, today? I don't know what the response in the hall's been. I'd love to take of the Sun leadership. It's quite interesting. Do you want to play this clip to it? I've got to play this to you, Jack. I don't know if you've seen it, but for people just tuning in to Drive, Gary Neville, failed football manager, good pundit, made 70 million quid. Look, you know, employing working-class people in Manchester. I think he just blew up yesterday. This is what he had to say on Instagram about white middle-aged men. Have a listen.
Driving home from Salford City last night. I was driving out to Salford City, going down a Littleton Road, seeing 60, probably 50 or 60 Union Jack flags. And I just kept thinking as I was driving home last night that we're all being turned on each other. And the division that's being created is absolutely disgusting. Mainly created by angry, middle-aged white men who know exactly what they're doing.
Jack, you're at the Tory party conference today. Neville, one of those champagne socialists who's made it his moment to share a stage with Starmer. I know you mentioned the problems of Labour. What's been the response? What's been the response of Sun listeners to this, readers rather, to this unbelievable, narcissistic, vacuous pain in the arse?
Well, listen, I actually listened to Gary Neville's podcast, and Gary Neville's podcast is called Stick to Football. And I think many people would want Gary Neville to stick to football, because I think that what a lot of ordinary working class, normal, decent, patriotic people in this country will be absolutely fed up is being sneered at by millionaire, lovey celebrities. You know, Gary Neville was very happy to run out into Wembley when he was playing for England, wearing the England colours, flying under the banner of the Union Jack. But when other people do it, it's somehow not right. No, like this symbol, whether it's be it this flag of St George or the Union Jack, is a symbol of unity. It is not about trying to divide people, and no matter what your race, religion, ethnicity, whatever, you can be British by flying under that flag. And I think that it's just a clear misunderstanding of this Operation Raise the Colours. It's seen by many sort of liberal lefties as a sort of weird ethno-nationalist thing. It's not at all. It's about unity. It's about pride in your country.
The reason that the left is so...
Gary Neville try and go on it, I think it's a disgrace.
Gary Neville is symptomatic, though, isn't he, Jack? Right, so brilliantly put by you there, my friend, because there is genuine fear amongst that liberal... I don't know, Islington elite, never been outside the M25 or live in Cheshire, swill champagne, pretend to be socialist, have made their millions on the back of working class people, and now you're insulting those very people who paid to come and watch you play football and who built your hotels, and you made 70 million quid. And I always have the same thing, and I know people go, oh, Jez, how can you say that? I always want to say to him and Lineker, listen, I don't care what your opinions are, you're as entitled to yours as I am to mine, but do you know what? Go and open your doors to some migrants, or go and put your house next door to a migrant hotel and fear for your daughter's safety, and try and understand in your ivory towers that working class men and women have real concerns in this country, and they are not anymore going to be thrown off balance by you going, oh, far right, oh, grabbing the flag, oh, this is all wrong. These people who are concerned, who listen to talk, who read The Sun, are genuine people who have paid their taxes, don't break the law. They're good working class people, and they are fed up with the condescending attitude, as you said, of many celebs and many commentators who look down their noses. I watched a thing from America the other day, The View, that odious left-wing programme with Whoopi Goldberg, and I don't know, the guy came on, I think he was, I don't know what he was, he absolutely buried those five, and they just sat there like that, because he just said, your rhetoric is so imbalanced, and in fact isn't real. And we have to, I think, as a society, look at people like Neville and go, you don't speak for us, mate. You don't speak for us. And I'm not ashamed to say that anymore. Not me, the public, you know?
And it's interesting, political journalists like myself, we asked Downing Street earlier, do you agree? Keir Starmer and Gary Neville, clearly very good friends. You mentioned it yourself when Gary Neville came onto the conference stage in Liverpool just a few years ago. They did that whole pre-election walk around a park where Gary Neville did sort of a soft soap interview with Keir Starmer. We asked, does the Prime Minister agree with his friend Gary Neville saying that people raising flags are angry middle-class white men? And Keir Starmer's spokesman noticeably distanced himself from Gary Neville, saying, he's entitled to his views. The Prime Minister is very clear that people raising flags are patriotic. And so clearly the Prime Minister even understands that these people who are putting flags up are sick to the back teeth of being told that they're this, what and the other because, they put up their national flag. He clearly knows that that is where his re-election chances live or die, and these are the majority in this country who are sick to death of people like Gary Neville telling them that they're wrong the whole time from their massive mansions in Manchester.
And you know what, Jack, just to finish, right, this is from Johnny, who says, question for you and Mr. Elsom, would Mr. Neville have said the same thing or even commented if those 50 or 60 flags had been Palestinian flags as he went down that road on the way back from Salford City? And there's the hypocrisy. There is absolutely hypocrisy, isn't there?
Yeah, totally. And, we've talked about two-tier before, but it really has been permeating, I think, a sense of growing frustration now for about the past year. And people see it in every walk of life. They see it in their courts, they see it in genuine unfairness in the tax system and the welfare system. They also see it in flags. And I know that might seem like a trivial and flippant thing to say, and it's clearly not the most important thing in the world, but when you see, various councils getting their step ladders out incredibly quickly at the crack of dawn to tear down the flag of St George and the Union Jack, but Palestinian flags seemingly get left up. People do think there's a two-tier in society. They do think it's unfair. They do think there's a double standard, pardon the pun. But it is something which I think Gary Neville probably needs to reckon with.
Mate, really good to get you on, and thank you. I know you're busy couple of days, all those meals out, all that drinking, all that schnoozing, and there's only 11 people at the conference, mate. There's more people in the Sun team than there are at the Tory Party conference. Jack Elson, thank you so much indeed.
Jeremy, we are making up for it with our bar tab.
I bet you are. I'll be up there tomorrow. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. What do you make of it all? Let's get you on the phones. We'll do that after the break, which is next.
The division that's being created is absolutely disgusting. Mainly created by angry, middle-aged white men.
He is doing himself the divisive job that he refers to, that people like myself who proudly fly a flag in my garden and who rejoice when I drive under every motorway bridge now covered in Union Jackson and St George's crosses. Well, bring it on. And you know what, Gary Neville, you've just finished your career.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
At 5:26, we're live across the United Kingdom. This is Talk Drive. There's absolutely no
fake news.
No, none on this station at all. It's all honesty and openness. Common sense. Everybody's talking about it now. 0344 499 1000. Quickly, before Isabel Oakeshott, let's go to Southampton. Paul, you're on Talk Drive, pal. How are you?
Hello, Doug. I'm not too bad, my friend. Yourself?
Yeah, not bad. You know how it goes. Right, quickly. Time is money and I'm skint.
Right, I'm an angry white man, and I think that everybody that has a Sky subscription should cancel it until they sack this little weasel. That'll make him aware that, we angry white men, we do have some clout.
It's interesting, isn't it? David says, like you, stick to football, Neville. You have no idea what you're talking about. Your words, angry middle-aged white man, is spreading division, and you complain about the national English flag spreading division. It's about time the UK and England got their national pride back. David, an angry OAP from Wiltshire. This is especially for you, Paul, in Southampton, and for every single person who's asked for this. This is brilliant. Earlier on Talk Sport, our sister station, presenter Simon Jordan spoke about the Gary Neville scandal. I got to tell you, right, I've done a few rants in my time. This is awesome. Simon Jordan on Gary Neville, take it away.
I think it's astonishing in the wake of an Islamist terror attack that he decides to have a go at middle-aged white men. Maybe the angry middle-aged white men are the ones that worked on minimum wage inside his hotel. I don't know. I think he's a champagne socialist and a coward. I think it's a dreadful thing to have said.
How is he a coward?
Well, I think the real issue is about radical Islamist extremism, and he doesn't have the balls to call it out for what it is, rather than suggest that people that are challenged in our country about what's happening, he's insulated from these things. He lives in a very rarefied world where his money and privilege has enabled him to live behind a gated environment, not have to worry about NHS appointments, not have to worry about people being attacked in the streets by immigrants that shouldn't be here in the first place. He doesn't have to worry about these things, and so he has the ability to be able to sit there and observe in such a way that insulates himself from it. And I think it's an appalling stance to have taken.
Here, Simon Jordan, fantastic. TalkSport presenter Simon Jordan earlier telling us exactly what he thinks of Gary Neville. A view shared by many, many, many thousands of you already contacting the show, angry as hell. 0344 499 1000. There's bigger things than Gary Neville, but it's just symptomatic of that sort of liberal, left-wing, lovey type approach, which is my truth is the truth. You're a fascist. You're a right-wing thug. You should be cancelled. You're a piece of crap. Somebody who will absolutely agree with me. Never spreads anything but the truth. The legend that is Isabel Oakeshott. Very good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon. Well, I'm happy and angry. I mean, I'm always happy to be on your show, JK, and see you. But, you know, the truth is that much of the nation is really angry and should make no apology for that at all. And, you know, can you imagine if Gary Neville had said, you know, our flag is being abused by angry black men? I mean, how would that have gone down? Why is it acceptable to single out white people, British people, for being frustrated and allowing their frustration to get into something bigger than frustration, actually, about the absolute shambles that is our country right now?
I'll tell you why I think it is. I was phoned up by Reform's chairman on Saturday night, or Friday night it was, messaged actually by David Bull, and he told me that Have I Got News for You had just done this spoof on me at the Reform Party conference because I said I haven't had any lunch about 400 times. So they played it. And I was watching it thinking to myself, well, people were getting offended. I wasn't. I thought it was brilliant. I thought, this is another example of the establishment pooping themselves. Today, Gary Neville is the living... What he said is the living embodiment of the left-wing establishment pooping themselves. I mean, Simon Jordan's spot on. He's made 70 million quid using hard-working British men and women who will find his comments repulsive. He lives in that bubble that Simon Jordan talked about, and he thinks this is the Starmer approach. They think that they speak for everybody, and I remember after Southport, Starmer going, "It's all far right," and everybody went, "Oh, it must be." As time has gone on, the millions and millions of people who want change, who are interested in reform, or the Greens, or not Ed Davey, because he does my bleeding head, and you know what I'm saying, right? Try and be as balanced as possible, right? Those people have realised that their voice works. Those people have realised that they're entitled to an opinion. And I think they just feel when somebody like Gary Neville talks down to them, Isabel, do you know what, mate? You're not actually what you say you are. You don't speak for us. We know who speaks for us, and we ain't deterring. But I'm convinced that the left-wing liberal elite are pooping themselves. I know I wish I could use another phrase, but I'm utterly convinced.
Oh, of course they are. Of course they are, because they look at what's happening and they don't know where it goes, but it doesn't look good for them and their political futures and their weird, you know, out of touch ideology, which was put so perfectly there. And, you know, there is a long way to go, and that is what frustrates so many people. So many of our listeners, certainly frustrates me, and none of us can know how things will play out. But as things stand at the moment, it's very hard to see how the absolute groundswell of fury and exasperation and disappointment with the way our country has been run by the two main parties doesn't lead to some kind of revolution. It's a political revolution.
I don't think it's. I'm with you, and we've spoken privately, we've spoken on air. I don't think that in our lifetimes, I'm much older than you, obviously, I'd like to make that equation. I don't think I ever thought that the two-party system would be as trashed as it's about to be, although it will be two-party, it'll be Reform against Labour. I genuinely believe that the oldest and most established political party in the world, the Unionist Conservative Unionist Party, is going to barely exist. I don't believe that this is going to go away, and I go every week to the same text, which was the guy that said to me weeks ago, the silent majority, when they realise, Jez, that their voice can be heard, whatever the government, whatever the colour of that government, it's in trouble. And I think that, you know, I was watching, I wasn't on air, the horrors of that attack at Heaton Park at the synagogue the other day, and I was thinking, boot on the other foot. You've got a guy called Jihad stood there with potentially a suicide vest, right? And you've within 3 hours you're allowing a pro-Palestinian march. I've seen footage of those sorts of things before, and some of what is said is vilely anti-Semitic. I've got friends who are wanting to leave Britain now. But apart from all of that, you have all of these problems, and then that knob, actually I've said it, go on, dump me, it walks up and down Manchester High Street, you know, with his 400 properties and goes, oh, it's angry white men. He didn't play on that clip, by the way, I don't know if you know this. At the end he went, and I own a building, and I went there yesterday, and there was a flag, so I took it straight down. Well, I demand his flags. I demand his caps back. He was happy to run out and play for England, was he? Did he? But apparently somebody texted us earlier, right, to say that he didn't sing the national anthem every time. So maybe the guy is just...
Oh, yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, actually, Richard Tice was commenting on that, I think, on one of the shows either earlier today or yesterday about that.
Oh, I've got it. Sorry, you were speaking to Richard Tice on a Sunday, Isabel Oakeshott? Goodness me.
I've lost what day it is. I work every day.
Mate, join the club.
I just want to say about the angry white men. There are an awful lot of angry white women too. You know, don't forget about the angry white women. This isn't a gender thing. The whole nation is feeling pretty pissed off at this point.
I completely agree with you, Isabel.
Was such a kind of, in a way, such a sweet British way of kind of protesting. You know,
can I just say, Ryan's going to give me steely eyes, but apparently, I'm going to say this. If you were offended by what Isabel just said, get a bloody sense of humour. Not that they will be offended, but we'll just say that, because you know what they're like. I thought it was genius, by the way. Anyway, Richard Tice was right, who you must have been talking to on a purely professional level on a Sunday. Gary Neville once, did he do this regularly, Ryan? Or he used to play for England. Here's him not singing the national anthem. Have a watch, have a listen. John Terry's giving it large. Who's that? Oh, Paul Robinson. Who's that? Oh, that. Look, see my boy. Not the champagne socialist, eh? Oh, Ericsson. Well, he didn't sing it because he wasn't from England. He didn't know the words, and Rooney's not intelligent enough to know the words. But there's a point there, isn't there, Isabel? I hadn't seen that. That's fantastically interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, what's wrong with... I mean, there was at least one other guy that wasn't singing.
That was Wayne Rooney, didn't know the words.
It wasn't Wayne Rooney. There was one other that wasn't. But anyway, you know, I think it takes something to really button your mouth like he did. I don't know what his problem is, but I do know what the problem of the nation is, and that is that we're fed up of being run by incompetent people that milk us for every penny that we earn or try to, and then waste it. Bringing in a load of people that don't do anything to add to our country. People are absolutely fed up. And I think we cannot underestimate the fury of the elites at what is happening and their fear. And they are going to fight back, you know.
So this is really interesting because we've got broad shoulders, us lot, you lot, all that. But, you know, you can see it already. I mean, I laughed this time last year. I was like slightly open-mouthed when Nigel Farage's bank account was closed. But the longer that this goes on, anybody who is vocal about, you know, change in this country, yes, the institutions and people will come. But my point is I I don't believe that can be batted away anymore. I think it's too strong. I just want to bring you to something. Zoom in to Isabel's face, please. This is going to be brilliant. Half of Tory members think that they should do a pact with Reform before the next election to make sure that Labour... Look, she's nearly thrown up. No, don't throw up on air. It's extraordinary. Half of them don't want Kemi Badenoch. That's an even money bet. But yeah, 46% think that they should form a pact with...
Well, do they now? Do they now? Because that's not in their gift. I bet they do as they stare into the political abyss.
Yeah.
It's the people that have patronised Reform from the moment it was formed. These are people that love nothing better than to go, oh, there, you guys, what a sweet little project you have. Never going to go anywhere because we've been around forever. No one ever topples us off our perch. What? And you're now coming crawling and say you want to do a pact. You think you should do a pact. Well, you know what? Actually, Reform doesn't need to do a pact with that lot. They really are in a very strong position at the moment. And I would say that, unfortunately, those are political has-beens. And, you know, there are, of course, a handful of great Conservatives, true Conservatives, and Reform has already taken some of those people. But there is a really delicate balance here. You know, Reform is not going to be a party of desperado ex-Conservatives who are opportunistically jumping on the bandwagon now. And it's not going to be a party of Tory retreads. Forget that.
It's really interesting, actually, because every time somebody defects, and there was just before, I mean, Badenoch's about as successful as Starmer. She won't stand up yesterday and her major donor defected to Reform. That wasn't a great look. Every time somebody does defect, and I make a point of asking people on this show deliberately, but you get the distinct feeling from many of the Reform supporters that, you know, whilst they welcome experience, actually they don't, as you quite rightly see it, as some sort of lifeboat, excuse the pun, for, you know, Tories who absolutely know they're about to go down the gurgler. And it's really interesting, isn't it? Because the argument used to be, or was, or I've heard about Reform, is you don't have the experience of government. I'm just going to stick my neck on the line. I think that's a bloody great thing. I think that I don't want anybody that's ever been in government before, if Reform can get elected. I want people with fresh ideas who will take on the blob, who believe through their business experience or their skills that they're going to affect real change in this country. That's it. I think the rest of it's rubbish. I don't think you need to, well, he was the minister once, let's get him over. No, because you'd have the balls to do the job properly, because you'd still be in power, wouldn't you? That's how I see it.
I think it's very off-putting for, you know, those who are quietly, you know, trudging the streets, leafletting, doing the stuff that gets no profile or glory, when former Tory MPs come sailing over, you know, in the hopes that they will get some high position. That's very dispiriting for, you know, the kind of grassroots party activists. And I know that the party leadership, Nigel Farage, is more than aware of that. But there's something else going on here, which is that Reform needs to politically kill off the Tories.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Reform can't get the majority it wants. So, you know, Nigel Farage is trying to walk a really delicate balance there with not bringing in too many Tory retreads or any at all. You know, he has to assess each applicant, as it were, for whether they're going to add anything. But at the same time, it's obviously very helpful to have as many come over to Reform as possible as part of the cause of killing off the Tories. So that's what's trying to you know, the balance that he's trying to get in the background here.
Couldn't agree more. Lovely to have you on. Is everything all right? Did you have a lovely weekend?
Everything's absolutely great, and tonight on Kev's show I'm going to be bringing an exclusive report from Libya about how about their immigration crisis and how, unlike the French, they actually do stop the boats coming our way.
You mean it's possible? Shock horror. She will
Apparently
bring...
so.
There you go. Isabel on Kev O'Sullivan tonight, the political asylum. Isabel Oakeshott, thank you very much indeed. 20 minutes to 6 o'clock. We're live across the UK. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. We'll do some calls, we'll do some texts and voice notes. We're coming back in 3. I'm off for a wee. Ta.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
17 minutes to 6, we're live across the UK. JK here until 7. Kev with that exclusive with Isabel. How the Libyans deal with immigration. All on this wonderful station, home of free speech and common sense. Let's go to voice note. Mike in Portsmouth, go.
Hello, Jeremy. Just listening to your show with Benedict saying that footballers don't speak out, blah, blah, blah. Well, Matt Le Tissier did, who worked for Sky Sports. He wouldn't wear a Black Lives Matter badge and spoke out against lockdowns, and he got the sack. So let's see what Sky Sports principles are now with Gary Neville, shall we? And then we all know where we stand with them. Good show as always. You're not bad for an old git. Keep up the good work.
It's very nice. Mike in Portsmouth makes a really salient point. Matt Le Tissier, I don't have to agree with what Matt Le Tissier say, but he was ostracised. He was sacked for having opinions that presumably don't run the course as others. Gary Neville is a bloody footballer, says Joe from Shrewsbury. Not a political analyst. He should stick to his level of expertise. He needs to have respect for the very community that he is vilifying, because unless I've missed the point, they were the people who put him there. Stu's in house, Owen, mate. All right, son, how are you? Yam'll be there, mate. Love it. I think Gary Neville and David Lammy are just the gifts that keep giving. It'd be a crime to ban them. There's no other comedy worth watching on TV anymore now, the pair of Muppets. Fantastic. That's it. It's my only accent of the day. It was crap, I know. Dave from Northamptonshire. I don't know a Northamptonshire accent. It's just a joke, by the way. If anybody's going to ring up and go, I think that was very respectful what you were doing to Birmingham. It's just a bit of fun in between the turgid misery of my life and this show and bloody Starmer and the bloody left. It's just nice occasionally to have a smile, a spring in my step, my hat at a jaunty angle. Dave from Northampton. I think Gary Neville is right about white-aged middlemen because he is the person making them angry. Great show. The people are behind you. Where? You can't say that. Shelbrook, that Tory. The Tories will never again rule this country. They may have revived their fortunes before, but that was before they ruined it with the Boris wave and net zero. Jeremy, says Daniel, the Tories were done when they got rid of Bojo. Christina, all those protesters should have criminal records automatically issued. Make most of them would be What? Make sure most of them would be unemployable. They should also be named and shamed. Stephen Bullen, love a bit of bully, love a bit of bully. Where did that come from? No idea. He says there are two very good reasons for Ronan Keeping coming as the leader of the Tory party. She's not a PPE graduate and also not a lawyer. Steve's in Wales. Good afternoon, Jez. Regarding Gary Neville flag rant. You try saying that. Just ignore him. He's a very angry, white-aged middle man. Good, I see what you did there, Steve. And finally, for now, politicians only seem to start listening when their careers are on the line, says Mark. That's like radio presenters. Sorry? Didn't quite hear what you said. 14 minutes to 6. You see what I did there, Davey? Baldy Dave is in the house. 0344 499 1000. Let's go to Hertfordshire. It's brave going there. Andrew, you're on Talk Drive. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Cracking show. In relation to Neville, before we start, all the people that are working on that building site that are white middle-aged men, why don't they just down tools, submit their invoices and black the site so that nobody works there?
It's a very, very good point. As somebody said it earlier, Gary Neville, never bite the hand that feeds you, you stupid idiot. Anyway, crack on. What else you got for me, kiddo?
Yeah, the Tory party dies when they merge with the Liberal Democrats, Cameron and Clegg. And at that moment, previously, Nigel Farage had been a Conservative, and then the Maastricht Treaty is voted through by John Major and he leaves. So he has always been a Conservative, and unfortunately for Kemi Bay, not good person. You know, she's been stood for election. She believes in democracy. She's just a sad person like Camilla Harris, who's been given the wrong end of the stick. There's nothing she can do because Conservative policies come out of Nigel Farage's mouth.
Well, I said it all along. You know, this is not as a broadcaster, as a voter. Last election, sitting somewhere, turn the television on, angry Tory. The problem with reform is these far-right policies. And then you look at the policies and you go low taxation, a strong military, police that actually arrest people rather than make bleeding excuses and stick up for the perpetrator, fiscal, you know, sense. And I went, no, they're not far right. They're the things that Tories that, like me, had always voted for. The fact of the matter is, you idiot, right? The Tories have lost that. Completely agree with you. Thank you, my friends. Go to Southampton. Ricky! Hello, mate. How are you?
Hello, Jezza, mate. How are you? Good show, mate.
No, I'm just looking at the news telling me that Stephen Gerrard's going back to Rangers. That's a breaking news story. Right, crack on, son. What you got?
Well, I was just saying, why are we wasting so much time on this bloke, mate? He's got as much between the ears as the football he used to kick about, mate.
He wasn't a very good footballer, was he?
No, it's in his gene pool as well, because obviously his granddad come up with the Neville. I mean, he put a lot of thought into that one, didn't he?
His dad was called Neville. That's like being called Kyle, Thrussell.
Yeah,
Baldy.
going on there, mate.
You having a good week? Have you had a good weekend, son? Southampton not doing very...
not too bad, mate, apart from the football, you know, but...
Good. Tell your friends about Talk. I want to rise up from 11 listeners, all right? It's important to me. Yeah.
Let me put this one in there, mate. It'll be a first. Fair play to the Pompey boy earlier who said about Matt getting the sack.
Yeah, agree. Listen, Matt Le Tissier took a lot of grief for having a view. If we live in a world that's about free speech, I saw something the other day, but do you remember that David Icke, who used to say that they played an interview the other day from 15 years ago, and about 3 things he said that have turned out to be absolutely bleeding true. Maybe it's all madness. Ricky, my regards to Southampton. Top man, 10 to 6. We're live across the UK. Don't forget, Kev O'Sullivan here from 7 o'clock with the political asylum. I'm not reading this because Isabel Oakshott will bring an exclusive about Libya on his show from 7 on his show. Can we go to a break, please? I need a wee.
As a local resident, somebody who's born and bred here, I shouldn't have said that.
You see why this is people sometimes think that Reform are very much against having people
that
here.
I found it hard to believe it wasn't a comedy sketch. Certain people in our society sprinkle words such as far right and fascist and racist around now so liberally that it makes many people walk on eggshells, even in this case a reform counsellor who you would think would know better.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 7 minutes to 6. Now, Big Baldy Dave, who does all the buttons, I just said to him, "Are you ready for your sting for the Sun?" He said, "Oh, don't play it." So we'll see if somebody else can play it. 3, 2, 1, go.
Sports news from the Sun.
And the reason I know that wasn't Dave is because it's right on cue, and there would be a massive gap if the Baldy boy had done it. Mike Anstead, a very good afternoon. Sport, head of content, sport. What does that say? Sport head of content, The Sun. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, thank you,
Fellow
Jeremy.
West Ham fan, beaten easily by Arsenal, but we say, well done, Nuno, for taking the job. You've got 2 weeks to work with the players. Could you just please teach them how to bleed and well defend? Might be a start, yeah?
That would be a good starting point, I think.
Newcastle second team, as you know, was watching, great headline in The Sun today about Ange Postecoglou. There's a great, you'll know this, sign as you approach Newcastle. It's called the Angel of the North. It's like a big cross, Purcell there, amazing. It's always, that's YI country. And, you know, you get into the tomb with that. And there's a thing on the front of the Sun today, Ange, Hell of the North. Very clever. Do you see what Ange, yeah, very good. Tell me, in the madness of the Premier League, is it really possible to potentially be sacked after 3.5 weeks?
I think at Nottingham Forest, anything is possible.
What are you saying? This isn't Watford, you know.
Absolutely. I think Mr. Marinakis is certainly a quite unpredictable character, it's fair to say. Look, even in the pantomime world of the Premier League, to be binned off after, well, we're on 27 days today. He could get to the 28th day, we do know that. But that is ridiculous to be gone inside a month. But look, 1 point from 4 Premier League games, 0 wins from 7 games. Fans already calling for him to go. Admittedly, the actually away fans at Newcastle yesterday weren't calling for his head like they were at the Europa League game the previous Thursday. Out of the Carabao Cup to Swansea, it's been a terrible start for him. And look, they're not Spurs fans who are in love with him because they.
Well, I was talking to Andy Goldstein from talkSPORT, our sister station. He was saying, I just don't rate him as a manager. I never had. He had a terrible time at Tottenham. If he hadn't won the Europa League, they were nearly relegated. I don't know. I mean, is he not as good as people think? I mean, it's extraordinary to me. But
he was good to his word at Spurs. He did say, I'll deliver that trophy in the second season. So look, it was worth hanging on for him. But Daniel Levy and the others quickly thought at the end of the season, let's get rid of him. That's proven to be a good call, and I mean, he's in deep trouble there. So,
just very quickly, only because we saw a little bit of a rumour about this. Rangers obviously sacking Russell Martin yesterday. I just didn't even understand why they employed him. I'm not being disrespectful, good Championship manager, but rumours today that Steven Gerrard, who had undoubted success with Rangers, hadn't had much success then, sacked by Villa, went to Saudi Arabia a couple of years. Could well be mooted for a return. Gerrard, good shout.
I think there's
a bit like help me out, Celtic, Brendan Rodgers, go and repair yourself and bring back like he did after Leicester, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Look, I mean, Gerrard's got quite a bruised reputation as a manager, I think it's fair to say, but there's a lot of people in the blue half of Glasgow who like to have him up there, and obviously he's been already taking on Rodgers up there during his previous stint. Let's see, I mean, they can't get much worse than Russell Martin. That was a complete disaster, that whole episode. I mean, ending with the police having to give him an escort out of the Falkirk ground yesterday.
And did you see that the Rangers fans blocked the team bus from leaving and shouted abuse at the players?
Exactly. But it's been an
mate, what's this UEFA vow to block future club matches abroad story? Help me out with this.
So, right, look, UEFA today have come out with a quite strong statement saying we are going to block these future games. So they can't do anything about 2 matches abroad involving European leagues already. That's Milan versus Como in Italy that's been moved all the way to Perth in Australia.
Why?
Not make more money at the end of the day, Jeremy. That's all they're interested in. Barcelona, Villarreal, Spanish games, been moved to Miami. And then, look, we know where this leads to.
Where are West Ham going to go then?
Oh, I mean, you'd be lucky to move it down the road, I think.
Jakarta, probably, somewhere like that. Yeah, go
on. So, look, we know where this is. There's a load of American owners in the Premier League now. That just means one thing, that they want to make more and more money. They see it more and more as a business, and they want to, you know, how can they cash in? And one of the great uncharted steps is to take the games abroad. So it would
you imagine that? Should we go and see West Ham play this weekend? Where are they playing? Miami. You're not going to get a pass from your wife for that. It's hard enough to get to the London Stadium, mate.
It might mean you can just dodge a game for a week. So.
There you go. Well, listen, I've been dropped right in it this week. I've got my children on my own for 3 days. My wife is after, bless her, she deserves. She's going away. So she doesn't know this and she's not listening. So 2 kids on your own. What do you do? Phone the mother-in-law. Bribe her. She's coming. Listen. I hope they didn't get out. The other one's a sad story, and I have a story I want to tell you about this. Lewis Moody, England rugby legend, has revealed that he's been diagnosed with motor neuron disease. I'm a patron of Sir Graham Wiley's foundation up north, and I spent a lot of time working with Doddy Weir, who was also a patron, and we used to auction every year and raise lots of money. And of course, Doddy Weir got it, and he was this hulking 6'8" lion, and he was so brave, and it got him. Motor neurons disease is a horrible, horrible disease that basically takes every part of your muscle tone and destroys you from within. Lewis Moody being very positive right now. Is there any hint that this is tied to rugby? We've talked about the brain things in the past, concussion and stuff, but is there beginning to be proof? Is that?
I don't think this is quite as clear as, say, dementia, where there's clearly a link between being involved in high contact sports, where there's some, undeniably in rugby, there's some big hits. if you've been playing it for a long, long time as well. So I can't sit here. Number one, I'm not a doctor, and number two, there's not an immediate link between the two. Obviously, you know, people, when this sad, shocking news came out today, as you say, Doddy Weir,
the first thing, yeah.
Rob Burrow, who's a huge name in rugby league, Ed Slater, who's another one actually, who, you know, Leicester Tigers, big name there. You've had people in football like Stephen Darby. So I'm not going to sit here and say there's an obvious link between the two, but it'll be interesting to see as research goes on whether there is anything to link the two. But I mean, it's just a terribly sad story. I mean, this is the guy, 71 caps. England rugby's greatest ever moment, 2003, when we beat the Aussies.
Absolutely.
A key part of that. And you look at these people like I do, and they when they're on the pitch during their heyday, they just look superhuman. And you never think it could happen to them. You mentioned Doddy Weir. These are just giants of the game.
Man, it was awful. But listen, we wish Lewis Moody, just a story to follow, not building anything into it, but Will Greenwood, very quickly, who was a centre for England, once said to me, kids went to the same school. He said, I reckon within 10 years, contact rugby will be out of schools if we carry on like this. It's an interesting debate, isn't it? Listen, Mike Anstey, thank you so much indeed. Head of Sport Content at The Sun. Check it all out tomorrow. Sun Sport, of course, in Tuesday's paper. We've got the news at 6 next on Talk Drive.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, hour 3 of Drive. For Monday, we're live across the United Kingdom. I have, in the space of 3 minutes, run 100 yards, been to the toilet, run back, and I'm still not out of breath. On this station, it's about common sense. It's not about...
Listen, you're being rude.
I'm
you're
not.
You're fake news.
I'm not.
You're fake news. Stop being rude.
Okay.
You're fake news.
Thank you. 0344 0444 419 1000 is the only number you need. You can, of course, ring. You can do a WhatsApp voice note. Ryan's loves making them. You can also send us a text, 87222. Start your message with the word talk. Hacked off an angry Mike in Lincoln. Good afternoon, Jezza. He says, as an army vet, what really grinds my gears about all these socialist melts like Gary Neville and Lineker is that they have a problem with the Union flag flying, is I don't recall them calling my fellow veterans and me divisive and far right whilst we were wearing it on our uniforms and on our bases whilst out fighting to defend their bloody rights. Bleat on the way they do. They drag me down. Max, I said the wrong word there. Pete, hello, Jez. Who is Gary Neville? Never been or watched a football match in my life. I'm 71 and my flag is the Lancashire flag and he can shove it where the... yes. Yes. There's a lot of shoving of poles to Gary Lineker. Steve Chandler, oh, hi, I'd love to see Gary Neville have to commentate a Millwall match from the Den. He'd get a lovely reception, yeah. That's true, right? Gary Neville's not going to Millwall in a rush, is he, to be fair? Yes. Bev, some of those white middle-aged men are military veterans who are proud of the Union Jack. I'd love Gary Neville to answer to them. Of course he won't, Bev, because he won't. The Tories are like a reform tribute band, says LJ. 0344 419 1000. Let's head to Sunderland. It's the posh... I'm joking. Joan, how are you?
I'm all right, and you?
Why, aye, Joanie. How are you, man?
Well, I just want to say about Gary Neville, people like him make me absolutely sick. What right has he to talk down to people the way he does? If it wasn't for men going to the football matches, he wouldn't be where he was. And to be quite honest, I prefer a man who perhaps he hates the job he does, but he gets up every morning, he goes out and does that job to keep a roof over his head and food on the table for his family. And that piece of rubbish need not look down his nose at those, because at the end of the week, some of those find it hard to rake enough money together to go to the match, to buy a pie and a pint. And Neville, there's not enough flags in this world for me. For too long, we have been ashamed of our flag. So fly the flag. I'm sick of foreign flags. Fly it.
Good for you, darling. Couldn't agree more. Really, really appreciate it. Called Joan in Sunderland. They get feisty up there very quickly to Cheshire. Matt, you're on Talk Drive. Couple of minutes. What you got?
Hi, good evening, Jeremy. Gary Neville is the new Carol Vorderman, and he's literally falling apart. So we should rejoice, really, not be angry. We should be happy that we're getting to him. And basically, he knows Labour's tenure is on thin ground, and he's basically only saying it because he knows that his entire belief system, his luxury belief system, should I say.
I said it earlier, and I completely agree with you. I think that the Gary Nevilles of this world, that soft liberal left, if you like, the champagne socialists who have never... Well, he's in Manchester. He's never left his gated community down here. They don't leave the M25. They talk about, you know, working people's rights. And in fact, the working men and women who Gary Neville's made 70 million quid off the back of will react in horror to the fact that in such a... Listen, I'm all for debate. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I will listen to both sides. But when he's pontificating that white middle-aged men are causing this by raising flags, not a word about Palestine action, marching in Manchester hours after the death of those poor Jewish people at the synagogue on Yom Kippur, nothing at all, because that doesn't fit with his rhetoric. And the people like Lineker and he would answer this. They go, oh, Jeremy Kyle, you're far right, you're being unfair, you're being divisive. No, I'm not. If I want to be proud of my flag, I'll be proud of my bloody flag. You seem to be proud of everything that nobody else is proud of, and you seem to slag the very people and the very conditions that made you who you are. So tell you what I'd say, I'd go further, Matt. So somebody like Gary Neville, take 70 million, right, and give it. Go on, give it away. Give it to all these immigrants, right? Have people live in your house and have a migrant hotel next to your bloody mansion and your daughter's on the way to school can feel threatened because you haven't got a bleeding clue what you're talking about, Gary Neville. That's the truth, Matt, isn't it?
The worst thing is, Jeremy, he's from Bury, which, as you know, from being in Manchester when you were there, has got quite a big Jewish community.
Yeah, it has.
So he's literally a stinking hypocrite.
Completely agree
and we get all the smackheads and all the junkies and all the vile people out of Piccadilly Gardens and let them all stay in one of his hotels.
Couldn't agree with you more, Matty. Good to have you on, my friend. Right, at 6:10, we're live across the United Kingdom. Before we go to our next guest, James Wilde, the Shadow Executive Secretary to the Treasury, Tory MP for North West Norfolk. Let's have a look at what the Shadow Chancellor Mel Stride said earlier. Basically, he was saying that only British citizens would be allowed to claim benefits in an overhaul of the welfare system proposed by the Tories if they get into power. This is Mel Stride earlier.
In a world of great uncertainty, of a failing government and a populist alternative that is totally detached from reality, it is our party that has to provide it. Not in the way of glib words, but in the deep well of thought that will provide the solutions to our many problems. In short, hope can only come with a plan.
James Wilde, Shadow Executive Secretary to the Treasury. Welcome to Talk Drive. How are you?
Yeah, good. Good evening.
Thank you so much, James, for taking time. And I don't want you to, I have to do all sides, so I don't want you to think that I'm being cynical or anything. Mel Stride earlier, good words, good plan, but the majority of people in this country who used to vote for you and have moved towards Nigel Farage will quite rightly say, James, this was all done weeks ago. Again, reactive politics. You're talking about meat on the bone, you're talking about a plan. It's been talked about before, man. That's the problem with this Tory party right now. You don't seem to be in front of the 8 ball. Would that be a fair criticism?
No, I'm not sure it would. We've used this conference to set out our plans for a stronger economy. Part of that is bearing down on the ballooning welfare budget that's unsustainable, and there's £23 billion of savings that we've identified. We haven't just come up with a number off the back of a fag packet. We've done the work to make sure that's a credible, deliverable plan, and that's what we're setting out today. Obviously, we've got to win back the trust of people like those who didn't believe that we were committed to dealing with these kind of overspending and budgets. We've got to live within our means. We're borrowing too much, we're spending too much, and we're obviously taxing way too much, and we need to have a reality check, and that's what we've been setting out at our conference here today.
Again, listen, we've never spoken before. I'm just doing my job. You'll understand that. It's a bit rich, isn't it, to keep throwing the Tory jibe at Nigel Farage on the back of a fad packet. It's taken you 15 months. Your leader has put no meat on the bone in 15 months because, with respect, she's been having a review. And that might be the right thing to do, James, but in terms of how that looks, you can be tone deaf to what I think, but the majority of people in this country who used to vote Tory are listening to a man and a party who seem to be on the front foot more. Would that be acceptable? Do you see what I mean by that?
I do see the point you're making, but I think if you're going to talk about something like leaving the European Convention on Human Rights, it's worth getting an expert, distinguished lawyer to advise you on how to do that sensibly and practically to make it happen. We could all have said, oh, we're going to leave the ECHR, but without a plan, you won't actually deliver it. I think one of the reasons we got kicked out of the last election was because we didn't do stuff that we said we would. So we want to be clear we've got credible plans to deliver that, and that's what we're setting out.
No, I get that, and I think it was that case that you didn't. I mean, I think it was pretty obvious to everybody that the Tories got voted out, James, because they didn't do what they were told. But here's a question for you. When you say to me, you know, we're in a position where, you know, we're in a country, that's borrowing too much. We can't even afford the interest on our debts. When we talk about a country that's about to spend billions on this crazy net zero policy, you're talking about taxing too much. You're talking about the ECHR. Why did your party leave government with the highest rates of tax in, 70 years? Why did your party leave government knowing full well that the majority of British people were fed up with the ECHR? Why didn't you do it whilst you were in government, James? Just a question, I guess.
No, it's a fair question. We had to obviously deal with the whole COVID situation, which led to significant amounts of borrowing as we gave people payments to make sure they could survive, businesses could survive. Then we helped people with their energy bills. That all came at a cost. We had to put up taxes. I don't want to see taxes at the level are up, but the point is they're going up because of the choices this government has made. And what you need is an alternative to that, a credible alternative. Reform are talking about increasing the welfare budget. They want to scrap this two-child benefit cap so that working people have to pay for people who aren't working to have more children. I don't think that's fair. I don't think most of your listeners and viewers would think that that's fair, and we're setting out a credible plan to deliver that. People have been impatient for Tories to come forward with policies. We've done that today on the economy, on savings in the budget, on energy. There's going to be further announcements in the coming days, and we're ready to take those views and take them out to the voters and try and persuade them to win back their trust.
Mel Stride, your boss, called Reform populists in his speech today. What did your boss mean by that, James?
I think he's probably just referring to, there are often some people come out with what seem like easy answers, and I think what we've learned over the last few years is that they don't work, and you need to have credible, grown-up answers to the big problems facing the country and have a plan to deliver them. Otherwise, things don't happen.
What do you mean when you say easy? When you say easy answers, that's been used over the last few years by your colleagues when in government. Are you implying by that?
Well, I think so. For example, we've had the Labour at the election talking about smashing the gangs. We said stop the boats. It turns out the problem was actually more complicated than just a one-line sentence, and it needed a whole series of legal changes, as we've just set out in the document we produced this week, in order to tackle that problem. We tried to pass laws, we tried to do all sorts of stuff. We were frustrated by lefty lawyers and the judiciary at every step, and we've now got a comprehensive plan to deal with it. So what I mean is just doing your homework, not coming out with something just because it sounds good, but actually having a proper plan to deliver it. And now we've got the time to tell people, to explain what we want to do for a stronger economy, for stronger borders. Of course, people are going to be sceptical because of what happened in the last Parliament. But Kemi Badenoch set out a new agenda under her leadership.
And obviously, listen, I completely accept that you are in opposition, and I accept that it was a pretty torrid time. I suppose my approach is slightly different in that I speak to people every single day, and there's frustration, and then there's complete and utter not interested. And I actually believe, people won't agree, maybe, you won't, I think that the Tory party is in real trouble here, irrespective of reform. I believe that it's difficult for you guys and ladies to come on, and you don't want to be saying, yeah, it's an absolute bloody nightmare. Half of the conference hasn't turned up. We spent 15 months planning thing. I mean, there was a poll today that said that 50% of your members want your boss gone. Kemi? There was another poll that said that 48% or 46% of your members want a pact with reform. It wouldn't give you the time of day. I get that it's difficult, but I'm not quite sure whether there is the total understanding amongst the Tory party of the debt. I don't think it works, putting it basically anymore, to say, oh, populist, back of a fag packet. There are millions and millions of people in this country who are hacked off with your party and with the Labour Party, and you could bleat on for 3.5 years and they'll vote for Nigel Farage because they feel they've been let down by the uniparties successively. And I think that's a massive problem for both you and Labour, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the challenge we face. I'm not shying away from that. I said we got wiped out at the last election because we didn't deliver. What we've got to do now is to go back to those people and try and persuade them. It's not going to be an easy task. I look at the polls the same way that you look at the polls. I'd much rather we were doing better in them. But now we've set out a bit of flesh on the bones as to what we actually do. We can have a conversation about that and see if we can win people over. And then it's fair for us to point out to what the government's getting wrong and what reform would get wrong.
Sure.
I don't think anyone should get a free pass. So we'll set out our positions and we'll put them toe-to-toe with reforms, and people think they've got a better, credible plan, then good luck to them. But I think
does it worry you, James? Does it worry you to be part of the most successful political party in British politics, the Unionist, Conservative and Unionist Party? Does it concern you that despite all that experience, and I watched Ed Davey, I mean, he mentioned Nigel Farage 32 times. I watched our Prime Minister, who's obviously got Farage derangement syndrome. He mentioned him about 100 times, even to the point where his own party didn't like it. You've mentioned him. Do you not think it's extraordinary that, and I'm 60 years of age, that we find ourselves in a position where a man who simply got 5 seats is not only leading the political agenda, but every other party? You've got 121 seats, and I would respectfully suggest, no, I'm having a go at you, I'm just being honest, you're not even seen as the opposition anymore. Now, Keir Starmer has said that the next election is Labour reform. Where does that put you lot?
Well, to be fair, I think some of your questions led with Nigel Farage on reform. I don't think I introduced him into the conversation, but clearly the reform are leading in the poll, so it'd be crazy not for us to talk about him. Keir Starmer wants to position this as an election against reform because he thinks that gives him a better chance of succeeding. That's not going to be the case. We're the ones who are holding this government to account. It's only thanks to us that Angela Rayner had to resign, that Peter Mandelson had to resign as well. And it's us who are leading the opposition to the damaging changes they're putting in place in the economy. I'm in the House of Commons. I don't really see the reform guys turning up very much to do anything to hold the government to account. So we'll keep going on with the day job. That's what we're there. We're the opposition. As you say, there's 120 of us to do that job, and we'll keep doing it.
Do you genuinely believe that the 3 years and 9 months to the next election gives you and your party, James, time to turn the tide, to turn people's opinions? Do you, obviously you get up every day and you believe that's your party, and I respect you for that, but do you, I mean, how do you respond to that poll today that says that half of your members, let's finish with that, want your boss Kemi Badenoch out, and a little less than half say that the only way you can survive is to have a pact with reform? How do you answer that? That's your own members.
Well, look, Kemi was elected by the membership a year ago, and she's set out her agenda, and now she's delivering on it. I don't think changing leader is going to be the answer to the poll ratings that we find. We need to stay united and put out across our messages. We're in a heck of a fight, but in a multi-party system, I don't think anyone can predict with any confidence where the next election's going. As you said, the Conservative Party has been an incredibly successful election-winning party over 100 years, and we want to continue to do that. So we're up for the fight, and we know we're in a big fight here with Reform and other parties to make sure that we get our message across and try and persuade people. But it's not going to be easy, but that's why we're here, and that's why I appreciate the opportunity to come on to talk about the policies we've set out for a stronger economy and for a stronger border.
No, I appreciate it. Just finish with a few questions for you, simple one-word answers. Is Kemi Badenoch going to lead the Tories into the next election, James Wilde?
Yes.
Is Keir Starmer going to lead the Labour Party into the next election?
Not sure.
Is Nigel Farage going to be the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom?
No, I don't believe he is.
And if we carry on like this with your poll ratings, do you see a position where you would defect to reform?
No, look, I'm in the business of making the Conservative Party successful and getting our poll ratings up. I'm a Conservative to my core.
Fantastic. Mate, thank you so much indeed. Really good to have you on. James Wilde, Shadow Executive Secretary to the Treasury, works with Mel Stride, who today said, and I quote, no more people who are migrants and people who aren't British to have benefits. Now, I could have told him that 10 years ago, and respectfully, he could have done that when he was in power, but he didn't. Is he doing it because he switched on? Because he's had a review? I'd love your take on that interview. James Wilde, honest or naive? Your shout, back in 3.
as a local resident, somebody who was born and bred here. I shouldn't have said that.
You see why this is people sometimes think that Reform are very much against having people
That just
here.
came
I found it hard to believe it wasn't a comedy sketch. Certain people in our society sprinkle words such as far right and fascist and racist around now so liberally that it makes many people walk on eggshells, even in this case, a reform counsellor who you would think would know better.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Just a moment away from the politics and the debate, because me and Big Dave are literally wetting ourselves. Just occasionally, well, actually on a daily basis, Ryan comes out with stuff that if you recorded how he tells it, it's like the driest story. So I just happened to innocently say happy anniversary. 12 years he's been with Lauren, poor cow, on Friday. And he went, yeah, sums me up really, isn't it? I left work early, thought I'd get home. I got her a nice present and I was going to take her out for dinner. Unfortunately, somebody jumped on the track, so my train got diverted. I had to get a bus to Watford. I then thought I'd better go to the chippy. I was in the middle of the queue, just got to the front. There was a power outage, so by the time they'd done my chips, it was really, really late. So I took the chips home. I'd forgotten the present. I gave her the chips and the curry sauce, which she dropped on a brand new white dressing gown, so she buggered off to bed and we weren't very happy. And the next day I went to Scotland with the lads. How the hell have you lasted 12 years, man? Maybe this is... I don't know why you're laughing, Dave. You and me, we're not very successful anything, aren't we, to be fair? He did his hair, forgot to bring it today. 0344 499 1000. There we go, Ryan's Anna. Let's speak to a lady who knows all about relationships. She knows about everything. She is the font of all things brilliant. The host of... I do think we need to change the... When I say the host of Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered, I'm not going to say here's Mary. It's Kinsey Schofield. Oh, you see, now I'm going to say I nearly said the wrong thing. I'm sorry, you're going to have to get rid of that Union Jack. And then I realised it's a top. So then I'll get into trouble. We'll be back on Jimmy Kimmel, but we don't want to be on Jimmy Kimmel because you've got no ratings and no talent. You need to go. How are you?
I'm here to trigger Gary Neville. That was my only purpose today. I'm here to trigger the only angry white man in this scenario.
What do you... I'm not angry. I'm not middle...
Gary Neville is.
Oh, right. I am white. I'm not middle-aged and I'm not angry. I'm very angry and I'm old. Darling, do you know who Gary Neville is in America?
Only because he is insane. Only because of this story.
Yeah, I mean, it's extraordinary, isn't it? Welcome. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for asking.
The Donald seems to have found peace in the world, it seems. Everything's going quite well. I just saw a thing on Truth Social which basically said, do you need to get this done in the Middle East or I'll obliterate all of you? That's sort of the way he's doing it, yeah. There'll be obliteration and bloodshed.
Yes, fingers crossed. We'd like to see everyone home, and we'll see how it all pans out.
The reason I wanted to get you on, apart from just so I can talk to you, because I love you, and the other people bore me, but you don't. I'm only joking. They do. Meghan Markle, a woman we love to stick the boot into, and quite rightly. A bewildering Instagram video over the weekend, and I saw it, and this is her in the car videoing herself with her legs up as she went past the tunnel in which Diana Spencer was so tragically killed in Paris however many years ago, that was 20. As she's driven past the tunnel, she goes from showing it to her feet and puts that on Instagram. And I have to say, on a serious note for once, Kins, I'm a royalist, and, you know, what happened to Diana was awful, tragic, misery. This woman is incapable of reading anything. That is just another appallingly tone-deaf action. Some people I heard were saying to me, "Oh, don't be tolerable. She's just having a go at her about anything." But am I? I wouldn't put that past her, knowing what she seems to be like, to think that that was for a reason as well, to get coverage.
Look, she's trying to sell us all on this With Love Meghan television show where she goes the extra mile. She makes things special because she puts more thought into everything than a normal person would, right? Like, that's what her entire show is about, how she goes just that one extra inch to make sure that she entertains better, that she makes you feel good, that she makes you feel special. Then you should know better than to it looked like a wild paparazzi shot. I mean, there's no paparazzi in it, but you know, it looked car chasey with the way that you're watching all of these Parisian landmarks move past you. And then she is so close to where Princess Diana lost her life. I mean, don't forget, this is also a woman that's constantly trying to tell us that she is the second coming of Princess Diana.
It's true.
If you're the second coming of Princess Diana, you should be more sensitive to these types of things. And Prince Harry writes in Spare about going through that tunnel at the exact speed his mother passed away. And
well, I found myself actually genuinely thinking, I wonder what he thought of that. I don't know whether he's literally not got a pair anymore, but if my mother had died in such appalling circumstance, I wouldn't want to have that triggered in my head by my wife. It doesn't matter whether she's got her shoes on. What's the point?
Why are you in Paris chasing flashbulbs when Paris has such a harsh memory for your husband? I mean, she's literally chasing flashbulbs. You can see her stop and pose for the paparazzi multiple times. She's eating up every second. She loves it. If I know that this is a place that my husband hates because it's where he lost his mom, where, you know, his mother had her last breath, I'm not going to go there, especially when he's on the BBC saying that it's not safe enough for my family in the UK, but it's safe enough for Meghan to be alone in Paris, literally engaging with the paparazzi you say killed your mother. Make it make sense, JK.
No.
There's no method to the madness.
Can't be. There's a couple of things. Andrew's devastated. He's literally texted straight away because he heard you say your husband. He says she's not married. No, she was talking about Prince Harry. Don't worry. But even better is Sue from Essex. Oh, Jez, great show. Can you tell Kinsey that I love her top? Can she flood the markets over here to hack off every single to hack off every single Gary Neville? So am I allowed to say this? Is that a blouse or is that a jumper? Do you say that? What do you say?
It's a nice little jumper, JK. Thank you for. It's a nice little jumper. Thank you. Yes.
Is that your English accent or your American accent?
That's my Texas accent.
Can we do an English one? Because I want you to say, "Hello, this is Kinsey in my Union Jack jumper."
Hello, this is Kinsey in my Union Jack jumper.
That's like Eliza Doolittle. I'm gonna have to teach you how to speak. That was good, though. That was good. Harry, whilst we're on the subject, Harry, I didn't know this until I mean, honestly, Stalker came within feet of Prince Harry on his UK visit. Where?
Well, hey, isn't it a little convenient that this story comes out as Meghan's PR?
Do you know why I have you on? Because even in this office, they call me cynical. When I mentioned the old man did it, I know the games. Of course. Oh, yeah. So Meghan gets a load of because she's impersonated and done all of that, and 5 minutes later, apparently, Harry nearly came unstuck with a stalker. Well, we didn't know anything about it at the time, did we?
Exactly. I think that this is an effort to distract from all the negative headlines that Meghan generated in Paris, because don't forget, on Thursday, Harry and Meghan are collecting those Humanitarians of the Year
Sorry.
Even
Dodgy Bald Dave's gone. What the actual hell? This is not, by the way.
That's such fake news.
It's not fake. It's the truth. What are they collecting?
On Thursday, around World Mental Health Day, they're going to New York, where they had that near catastrophic car chase, never forget, a few years ago, to collect Humanitarians of the Year award.
Presented
awards.
by what? The Monster Raving Loony Party or the Fruit Nut Party? Oh, who's given them that?
What really annoys me about this award is that it's for their efforts in protecting children online. And here's just a fun backstory. Meghan went to the Balenciaga show in Paris.
That was an interesting
where they had to apologize recently for inappropriate ads involving children holding teddy bears with bondage costumes on. So predatory behavior from Balenciaga. There's Meghan Markle elbowing her way to the front row. And then a few days later, she's going to go accept an award in New York for protecting children. Again, I would say to you, make it make sense. I don't know what team we're on now, 165, 265, surrounding Harry and Meghan, helping them with their strategy. Cut them loose. Cut them loose, because this is a PR nightmare. Nobody does their due diligence. You are who you associate with. That is why you see the royal family so careful in who they're photographed with, who they engage with, what charities they take on, why they're pushing Prince Andrew out of the way. It's a hard lesson to learn, and Harry and Meghan just refuse to learn it.
Can I ask you quickly before we let you go, two things. First one's serious. I saw something over the weekend. It was, what's that programme called? What's It Creek? What's it called?
Dawson's Creek?
No, with the guy that's interviewed Prince William.
You did that on purpose.
What's it called?
It's called Schitt's Creek.
Okay, there you go. Schitt's Creek. It is called. It's a great show. It's not. It's Schitt's Creek. It's not up. It's great. Anyway, the guy in there whose eyebrows look like they've joined together.
Eugene Levy.
Amazing. He interviewed Prince William, and it was all around. I was watching it the other day, and or reading about it. And William allegedly, and tell me if I'm right or wrong, hinted at major changes when he becomes king, which is music to my ears. Any idea what we're talking about here? Or is this just press talk?
He's not. He says he does not want Prince George to have the same pressures on him, the same anxiety that he did. So I think I know a lot of people are being dramatic about this, I think Prince William has proven to be a pretty sensible adult male, mature, responsible. I'm not going to lose my mind over this. I don't think it was disrespectful towards King Charles either. King Charles was always debating as Prince Charles how he was going to make this reign.
Of course he absolutely was. You're dead right. He was always talking about changes. Tell Kinsey she has the most beautiful smile on TV, says Steve. He's in a facility in Cambridge. And Michael's in Islington. I'm joking. He says, I love that beautiful lady and her beautiful jumper. I don't know why I did that accent. What is it with you? Oh, last hour. This is, sorry, you've turned from royal broadcaster to just American. In the last hour, the US Supreme Court has rejected an appeal by Ghislaine Maxwell against a sex trafficking conviction without providing an explanation. The court declined to hear the former British socialite's appeal, which means a 20-year sentence will remain in place, barring a presidential pardon, Kins.
I don't know if, based on the fact that there are so many Americans angry that there is this bizarre, slow feed of Epstein files and everybody just wants to see everything unredacted and dumped, I don't think at this point in time Trump would intervene with Ghislaine, because I think it would anger a lot of people. There are demands that we see these Epstein files. Who is being protected by continuing to hide these files?
Why would he, let's just say, pardon Ghislaine Maxwell?
Because if there's not a list, then who were these women trafficked to?
I mean, I interviewed, as you know, for Talk 2 years ago from the penitentiary. I believe that he'll pardon her on his last day as president, but whether that happens or not, I mean, you're right. It's just like the biggest story. It's like, who else is on that list? Does it grip America or not?
It does, and that was one of their promises, one of their campaign promises. We're going to release all of this information, JFK files, Epstein files, drain the swamp, no secrets, and there's a lot of weird stuff going on. I mean, I feel like a lot of the Charlie Kirk stuff is weird too, so we're just kind of patiently sitting back and hoping that the truth comes to the surface.
Interesting times in both our countries, but it's always great to have you on. You've got the most beautiful smile on TV, Brad says in Cambridge. I obviously wouldn't bear. You look fantastic, by the way.
Thanks. I'll see you in a month.
When are you coming?
3 weeks.
What
2
date?
weeks.
What date?
I'm not going to put that out there. I'm not looking for...
Well, I'm going away on the 23rd. Tell me you're not coming. No, when am I going? 26th. 26th.
Oh, so sad. I'll miss you.
Oh, jeez, it just wasn't meant to be. Anyway, if you could take your jumper off and send it through the post, that'd be lovely. Kinsey skirt. Well, you know why? Because it's a flag. You know, you can't be wearing that. We need to throw that out. 0344. No. What?
I love it. I love it here.
And we love you in it too. Thanks for coming on. I don't know where that came from. Sounded like Owen Wilson. Thank you to Kinsey Skirt for this tour drive.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
As well, the only and best way to wake up across the United Kingdom. The legend that is Mike Graham. Two things you need to know. Tomorrow morning, Morning Glory, we'll have an exclusive, right? This is an exclusive about Gary Neville. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. You know, the idiot that's... Apparently it's me. Middle-aged white men who are angry. He's a tosser, isn't he? Somebody actually texted me up and said he's a tosser. It's a shame his father wasn't. I'll leave that out there. 0344 499 1000. Also, I am told by MG, Mr. Graham, our gig November the 15th at the Shepherd's Bush Empire, because they've gone... We were 2-tier, now we're going 3-tier, because we think that there's a few tickets left. Ticketmaster.com, because we've opened another part of the theatre, because it's quite popular. Talking about popularity... Jodie's so overcome with emotion, she's taken the day off. John Lucas, what can we say about John Lucas? What is your title in the newsroom? Because there's a bit of conjecture going on with your colleagues. A little naughty smile there. Night news editor. The boys are saying you're only that because you're always there at night, because you're that dodgy. What's the truth?
Night news editor, that is
the
job
it definitely
title.
Your title?
It is my
job
job
So you
title.
only work nights?
No, I don't. I work during the day.
So why are you called the night news? It's like me being called drive time and I'm on in the afternoons.
I don't disagree. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Mate, welcome. Day of shame. Pro-Palestine protesters have been slammed for marking 2 years after Hamas slaughtered Jews on October the 7th by vowing to honour our martyrs with at least 20 campus protests. This is tomorrow, of course.
That's right. So tomorrow, I mean, it marks the anniversary of what people have described as Israel's 9/11.
Yeah.
So, you know, you think back to terrorist outrages around the world, other disasters. Generally, people don't tend to mark them.
No.
With huge antagonistic protests.
20 campus protests, which tells you everything you need to know.
That's right. And
indoctrination at our universities.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, these are taking place on campuses across the country.
Is this, by the way, is this second bit, I'm jumping in for, is this genuinely true? Other planned events include a bake sale for Palestinians with the tagline "Time for dessert" and another protest in Manchester. Are you taking them? Is that genuine?
That's right, absolutely. I mean, so we've been looking at all these. We've been combing through the social medias and taking a look at them, and some of the language that's being used is, look, there's absolute right. People have got to make protests. There's two issues with this. It's the date of it, for one thing.
Yeah.
Completely inappropriate, and a lot of the universities are saying this, and obviously Jewish groups, other groups are saying.
Well, what happened the other day? I mean, on the back of that appalling atrocity in Manchester, and then there was a march 3 hours later. It's just appalling.
Exactly, and it will happen in Manchester again. But the other point of it is some of the language that's being used around this. Honour our martyrs. It's talking about martyrdom. Well, of course, you know, in this October 7th attack, 1,200 Jews, Israeli citizens, most of them, were killed in a terrorist attack.
In the most heinous way.
Yeah, and you're talking about martyrdom. Now, they might argue that we're not just talking about the terrorists who carried out that attack, we're talking about Palestinians who've lost their lives in conflict. But the problem with that is you're holding it on exactly the same day as the attack, so it implies you're talking about...
Of course they're in play, because
Hamas,
they're doing it for the reason, of course.
Exactly, and it's antagonistic. You don't have to...
That'll be on the front of the paper tomorrow.
Well, it'll be on the front or it'll be close to the front, depending on...
Also, great story as well. Grace is on. The family of Nottingham attack victim Grace O'Malley Kumar hailed her bravery after it was revealed that she'd be awarded the George Medal for giving her life to protect a friend. The medical student, 19, was announced as a recipient of the British Crown by the Cabinet Office on Monday. She was recommended posthumously from King Charles for trying to fight off a crazed knifeman who ambushed her pal Barnaby Webber while they were walking back to their student accommodation in June 2023. I had a friend of mine's partner's daughter goes to Nottingham and knew them, and this was just the most horrific and heinous attack. But this girl, I think that's amazing. I think that's lovely.
Yeah, I mean...
She did try and protect him, yeah.
It's heartbreaking. This was on front of our paper today.
Yeah, it was.
And then we've had the reaction today from her family. I mean, Grace, so she was 19, she was walking home with Barnaby Webber. Barnaby was sort of incapacitated by this lunatic, Callacane. Now, Grace could have run away. She's an athlete. She could have legged it. She could have got away and safe, but she wanted to try and save Barnaby. She suffered in this. She suffered 23 wounds, I think, in this. I mean, she's a 19-year-old girl. He's 30. You know, for her to try and take him on, and it's just incredible. So she's getting this George Medal, which is the second highest civilian. And yeah, I mean, it's you know, it's very tragic, but it's good in a way for the family. They're talking about how, look, this helps us process it, and it leaves you know.
It was, of course, Barnaby Webber. She tried to protect him in the school. I don't know the guy's name, and I don't mean to be anything other than respectful to the 60-year-old caretaker as well. And this piece of crap still somewhere, is he?
He's still locked up somewhere.
Yeah, until he gets out on bail. Bless. That's really nice for the family, because those are the sorts of stories that we need to be shouting around. Also, on a slightly different note, Queen Camilla has paid tribute to long-term friend Dame Julie Cooper, who I knew from racing after she died at age 88. Died this morning or yesterday, I think. Fell. She and her son used to be at the racing the whole time. Queen of the Bonkbuster. Now, you lot are too young, because you'll think, if I said bonking, you'd go 50 Shades of Grey. Rivals in the 80s, mate, the stuff she wrote was juicy. I mean, it wasn't as juicy as... You don't know what I'm talking about, do you? Have you read it?
Well, I've never read any Julie Cooper.
Proper porn for the 80s, let me tell you.
Well, yeah, and this is why I'm learning a bit more today, obviously, with her death, of just about some of her writing and what it meant to...
12 million books she sold, man.
Yeah, meant to a lot of female readers, and obviously we've got today Rivals, which is absolutely massive. It's a huge... sort of...
I can see you in Rivals, to be fair.
Really?
Yeah, no, he's gone. I can.
I've recommended to watch it. People have been telling me to watch it. I haven't seen it yet, but...
I think you might see yourself, but if you read Rivals, the original one, the Campbell Black, the horseman, there's a lot... yes, very much. She was lovely, though. Her son Felix, I know him well. She was just lovely to everybody all the time. She actually cared for her husband. He had dementia, and she only wrote her last 2 books, she said this, to pay his medical bill. She was just a wonderful woman. And 88, 12 million copies of her books. Really sad, actually, you know?
Yeah, it is sad. And she's great friends with Queen Camilla, who she come out today and paid a lovely tribute to her and said, look, I only saw her a couple of weeks ago. You know, the circumstances we understand she had a fall. It's very, very sad.
Yeah.
But she's, you know, a beloved national figure, and we'll have plenty of tributes in the paper tomorrow.
Good. And then all shook up, and I'm going to ambush you on this story, and Ryan is going to literally lose his work. So Britain's oldest professional Elvis act is still all shook up as he continues to wow crowds aged 80.
That's right.
Tell me more. I'm only going to ambush you because... No. Oh, there he is. Tell us more. Don't be worried. I'm not ambushing you badly.
Paul Brecht.
Yes.
He's 80 now. Amazingly, so he's always been a bit of a pub crooner.
Yes.
But he only started his Elvis act at age 65. Very good.
Yeah.
And he gets proper gigs, nightclub gigs.
Oh, hold on. You're right. Yeah, go on. Now this, right? I was sent this. Don't worry, Ryan. This is an Elvis impersonator, right? With a song about the Jeremy Kyle show. Have you seen this from a bar in Mallorca the other day? No, let's not do that. Right, yeah, no, seriously. And somebody sent that to me the other day, so when I saw your story, I was like, who the hell? Honestly, but Elvis impersonators are great, aren't they?
Yeah.
Can you do it? Can you go,
love them? No, there's no way that I'm going to try and do that now.
Why? God, we want you to. The boys asked me to get you to. Go on.
No, I don't have the hair for Elvis.
No, it's true. More Phil Collins, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But this chap, he's a great chap. He's a real good laugh.
He's now a regular at 30 care homes where he performs hits like Hound Dog and Suspicious Minds.
Yeah.
What an active audience that must
exactly.
be.
And he says, bless them, they don't always know that.
Shake, rattle and roll got a whole different meaning, hasn't it? I love the Sun newspaper. Do you know, that sums it up. Day of shame. Really seriously about tomorrow was 2 years ago. I remember it vividly, and the fact that there are going to be campus protests to honour martyrs I think is disgusting. More great stuff in the Sun today about Grace O'Malley Kumar being given the George Medal, the Queen of the Bonkbuster Jilly Cooper, and then the oldest Elvis impersonator. Go on, just go on. Yes, you can. Go on.
Don't make me do it.
Go on.
You're fake news.
He's a legend. John Lucas, the Night News editor, is here tomorrow. We're live across the UK. It's 9 minutes to 7. This is Talk Drive.
Because they all go on the appointments, huge burden.
They all go on
burden the
PIP,
economy.
and they basically have to get money from the state for life.
And why on earth do we still allow first cousin marriage? You know, it should be banned outright. We don't.
Yeah.
Well, when that story broke, the
insane that
public,
this is
they did a
happening in a
poll.
first
When that
world
story broke, the public thought it was illegal already.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Back 6 minutes to 6. Can I say thank you to the team? Solopay, I got it right at 6 minutes to 7. Solopay's been brilliant answering the phones today for Jodie. She's back tomorrow. Solopay. Janya. I'm joking, Jana. She's been brilliant as well. Ryan, top producer. I mean, to be fair, he's been on the ball today. The disastrous anniversaries, but I suppose what we needed to ask about the anniversary that went wrong on Friday, I mean, when she went to bed with curry sauce on her dressing gown, what sort of mood was she in the morning? I don't know why I've even said that, because you're going to bore me rigid in a minute. Well, I got up on Saturday and I said, I'll get the stains out of your dressing gown. That didn't say. If you've just tuned in, it was curry stains, all right? And Big Baldy Dave, stop laughing. He's gone. He's absolutely gone. Did his hair, forgot to bring it. Right, 0344 499 1000. Hi, Jez. Joan in Sunderland was spot on. Who the heck is Gary Neville anyway? Has he ever had a real job and a real boss? Probably not. He should stick to punditry, although I gather he isn't much cop at that either. Great to catch your show live today. Sally from the Outer Hebrides. I've got an idea about the Outer Hebrides. Never mind. Jez, the Tories are still talk on screen with a smirk when referring to Reform UK of Nigel, almost like it's tattooed on. They can't help themselves. The uni party with the collective back of Finnish, Tory, Labour, Lib Dems, Sky, BB, Channel 4 and the Blob bring it on. Almost 2,000 today on Reform members, up to 259,000. Near as damn it. Kev, Mac Garrigle. I don't know whether that's a joke. Have you ever noticed that every single politician, no matter which party, uses the sentence, well, look, every time they're asked about a question that they're going to either lie about or waffle, it's amazing. Every one of them say it. Well, look, yes. Yes, good, yeah. Great show as ever. Kev from Doncaster. Brilliant. James from Peterborough. I rang Sky to cancel my Sky Sports because of that Gary Neville thing, and then I realised I hadn't actually got an account with them, so that was a waste of time. Dave's in Northamptonshire. The Tories are doing the same as Labour, sinking into the name gutter calling politics. Alison in Billericay. All right. Alison's Billericay. I like Billericay. Stride used the word populist. Do they never learn? No, Al, they don't. You're absolutely right. Gary Neville is well out of touch with the nation. It's about time we fly our flag more often, says Gary. Oh, no, that's him. And Rich in Cornwall, 2 words sum up Gary Neville perfectly. Timu Lineker. Yes, great show, Rich in Cornwall. To the phone lines, to Bournemouth. Karen, you're on Talk Drive. You've only got a minute. What's happening?
Hi, Jeremy. Just to let you know, this new police powers she's going to be bringing in.
Well, let me do this. Police could be given powers to ban protests outright. Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, has said, accepting that Jews are justified in asking for more help from ministers.
Well, they ain't going to get it.
Who aren't going to get it?
The Jews aren't going to get any help from ministers, I can tell you that.
Of course they're not. It's all platitudes. It's pontificating. It's posturing. If they were going to do it, surely they'd have done it before. If you can tell me, and maybe I'm going to be slaughtered. Hey, what changes? I believe in free speech, and I believe in the right to protest peacefully. But if you think it's right for a protest to be so near to what happened the other day to the Jewish community in Manchester, for a Palestinian action march to be that close, I don't think it should. I think that was insensitive and wrong and should be banned instantly.
Well, the thing is, I think this is another step in Islamification of this country.
Well, I don't know if I agree with that, but I'll tell you something I do agree with, sweetheart. I think he is well out of his depth. And as I suspected before he was... I think a lot of people suspected this. He spends so much time...
Well, I mean, I think Blair's pulling his strings quite a bit. And he's the acceptable face.
Absolutely.
Because we all think he's really stupid.
but you can't be that stupid if he's done as well as he has.
Not sure. I think he was quite lucky. Thank you for your call. Steve, joke ever in the history of the world. He said, I had a mouse called Elvis. It was caught in a trap. I can't get out. Caught in a trap. So, Matt, do you get that, Big Dave? Ryan doesn't. I think I might phone Lauren. She's busy getting your sauce out of her dressing gown. Curry sauce! Curry sauce! 0344 499 1000. Let's go to Grace in London. Grace, you're on Talk Drive. Good evening.
Hi. I just think that Gary Neville, I would agree with you that celebrities need to put their money where their mouth is more often and maybe do more with the excess wealth they have rather than just talking about causes, and that might make people more willing to listen. But I also think we all need to think about how other people hear what we're saying, and maybe he didn't think enough about that. I have Asperger's and I'm not good enough at realising how I come across to people, and so I'm trying to learn how I come across to people, and I think maybe